Here we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Kicking It with Kruse. As always, I'm your host, Ben Kruse, and we, of course, have a lot of stuff to get into, as always, for tonight. I'll be glad enough to join my fellow co-hosts later on a little bit on this program tonight in James Gonzalez and Isaiah Leon. So I can't wait to have them on with us tonight. But before we get started, just like to quickly just mention a couple things. First of all, hopefully you guys are having a great evening, a great start to your week. I also kind of want to mention as well too that we also make sure to follow the MI6 network on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all our great platforms. Obviously, make sure to join us every single week on Kicking It with Kruse, usually early on the week and later on the week, as I do what I can to bring all the best content, the latest content out there. And if there's any type of breaking news stuff as well that I will mention, I definitely would like to bring that stuff to you guys as well. Anything else that I would essentially kind of let you guys know about? I'll let you guys know throughout the remainder of the show, but feel free to jot some comments down throughout the program for tonight. And in terms of our topics for tonight as well, too, we're going to talk about stuff in MLB as they got their second half of their season started already. We'll go through some teams already. Is there guys going to be on the move? We'll get into some early predictions as we're going to do some buyers and sellers. We're going to do a little bit of a game with that tonight. Some teams of if they're buying, are they selling? We're only a couple weeks away from the deadline. We'll also talk about some NFL stuff. DeAndre Hopkins has officially found his new team. Is it going to be a Titan? Is it going to be a Patriot? Is it going to be another team? I'll get more into that as well in the program. We also have our position group top 1 through 5 listing and wide receivers for tonight. Last week we did quarterbacks. Tonight we're going to do our top 5 receivers. And we're going to have some other stuff tonight. I'm not sure if we're going to into NBA stuff just because it's almost 1 a.m. Eastern time where I am. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy tonight's program on Kicking with Kruse. Like I said, I'll plan to have a couple of guests on throughout my program. And feel free to spread the episode out to everyone online and all that fun stuff as we're going to have some fun tonight. So the first order of business we will get into is we are going to get into the start of the second half for the Major League Baseball season. And, I think specifically it's been overly, pretty good. There's been a lot of good teams out there that have kind of really not, skipped a beat. There's been also some teams that have been pretty sliding. And, I know after the All-Star break, it's pretty much at this point in time, it's pretty much who you are is what you are. And I'll kind of go really quickly through some of the East standings, for AL and NL East, and then through some other of the standings here. So in the AL East right now, it's the Tampa Bay Rays. They're still in first place. Their latest of their overall schedule is they've actually lost their last 3 games. They've lost their last 2 to Texas, who's been a really great story this year. They also lost the final game against the Royals this past weekend. The Baltimore Orioles, after a really long winning streak, they've lost their last 2 to the Dodgers, who have been on a red hot pace. The Blue Jays, who of course have still been in the mix, they had a really massive series sweep actually against the D-backs. They fell to the Padres tonight by a final score of 9-1. But they're really still playing really good baseball right now. The Red Sox, of course, I will get into them as well. I'll talk about them on my team report, but They've been one of the most hottest teams in baseball as of late. They had a really tough loss tonight against one of the worst teams in baseball in Oakland. But all in all, can't really complain with where they are in terms of the standings right now. They're fourth place. And then the New York Yankees, they have been completely lost ever since, really, I guess you could say the July 4th series with the Orioles. They've really slid kind of. They lost 2 to 3 to the Cubs. They lost 2 to 3 to the Rockies right after the break. And they lost the last 2 games here to the Los Angeles Angels. They have the Angels tomorrow night. You look at the AL Central. I mean, the AL Central really could be, won by any team really out there. You look at it right now. I mean, the team that has the most wins has 48 wins and 47 losses. They're right a little bit over 500. I mean, that's not happened. But all in all, the Minnesota Twins currently in the AL Central. The Cleveland Guardians are 47 and 48. They've won their last 2 games, but they had a really rough weekend against the Rangers. The Tigers. I mean, the Tigers are 42 and 52. They're 447 percentage wise, and they're like they're in third place right now. So I mean, yeah, that pretty much says a lot. Which is crazy to think. The White Sox have been very disappointing. They're 40 and 56. They're going to be a seller for sure. And then, of course, the Royals have been rebuilding. They're going to be selling a ton of pieces. And so, obviously, that's not really a surprise. If you look at the AL West, the Texas Rangers have been one of the most surprising teams to me all season, but they're not really surprising anymore to me. I mean, who they are. They're a really, really good team, led by a lot of their offensive firepower: Corey Seager, Adolis Garcia, Josh Jung, Jonah Hum. A lot of guys that were in the AL All-Star game. They're really, really good this year, and they got a great core. They took a series sweep against the Guardians this past weekend. The Guardians, of course, have been right now in the AL Central mix, so that's really good for them. And then they won 2 to 3. They won the first 2 games against Tampa, and Tampa's been, of course, one of the best teams in the division this year. Actually, the Rangers have really, a couple series ahead where they're going to be really battle tested. They have the Rays this week, and then they play the Dodgers this weekend in Texas. Then they're at Houston, and Houston's been playing really good baseball. And then they go to San Diego. And I know San Diego's been sliding, but it's obviously tough to go West Coast to play a team like that. So Texas obviously has a really tough stretch, but they've been playing great baseball. We look at the Astros. The Astros, obviously, they've been kind of up and down, but they did win the 2 out of 3 against the Angels past weekend. They lost to the Rockies tonight. The Red Sox, actually, as a Sox fan, the Astros are one of the teams that they're looking down, up right now with the wild card picture still within reach. So that'll be a team to watch for a lot of the rest of the second half of the season. Seattle, they've been really disappointing this year after kind of a really good story last year. They are game over 500, but I think specifically they probably aren't too thrilled in terms of where they want to be. They lost 10-3 tonight against the Twins. The Twins haven't been great all year this year. They did win yesterday, but they lost 2-3 this past weekend to the Tigers. So, I mean, they're just a really inconsistent, streaky team right now. And then you look at the Angels. Angels are they're kind of 500. And speaking of the Angels, actually, one of my buddies, James Gonzalez. James, funny enough, I'm kind of going through the MLB standings, and the team that I'm talking about, of course, is a team that you're a fan of right when you come on. So before I get into you, James, I just want to quickly kind of go through really quickly the end of my AL standings list. So the Angels are 48 and 48. They're 500. They're kind of essentially right similar around where the Red Sox were for a lot of that first half. Just a very up and down, streaky team. The starting rotation, obviously, I think has some, outside of Altani, a lot of question marks. The bullpen, I think, is really, they have Estevez, but they don't have a lot kind of in the middle relief. And then, obviously, offensively, Otani's putting up massive numbers this year. But you look at it in terms of Renfroe, Rendon, Zach Noto, I think, has been really impressive. They have some pieces here and there. It's just being able to be consistently putting it together on a weekly term basis. And then the Oakland A's essentially are rebuilding, and they're pretty much just in the dumpster fire for the foreseeable future. I won't go to the NL as of right now because I'll probably keep that for next week. James, thank you, my guy, for coming on. Hopefully, you're having a great evening yourself. So, how's everything going for you tonight?
Oh, it was good. I worked a lot. Ate some right now, and watched the Angels defeat the Yankees for the second night in a row. I'm kind of shocked, but in a way, I'm thinking, okay, that's the right reason the Yankees are kind of struggling right now. They don't have Judge. Donaldson isn't playing. Their bullpen is kind of a question mark. Herman didn't do so well for New York, and it's amazing to think, though, everyone's over 500 in your division.
Yeah. I mean, for myself, James, I've watched this Yankee team from afar, and they are just a very mediocre. And obviously without Judge, they're essentially at the worst part in terms of where they are offensively. I mean, Rizzo. I mean, they're getting no production out of Anthony Rizzo right now. I mean, he completely looks like Xavier Voss. Heck, I don't know if you watched the game tonight, but he has essentially been changing his batting stance to try at least get himself to have some of a overall feeling of how he is right now at the plate. Gleyber Torres essentially has been their best hitter, and nothing to take away from Gleyber Torres, but he should not be your best hitter if you're the New York Yankees right now.
And
Josh Donaldson,
Stanton has gone 0 for the series. I just seen right now.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's obviously good, James. I appreciate, from my point of view, to keep on doing this. Maybe for one more time tomorrow night. That would really appreciate me. I know you're probably thinking to yourself, well, this
I'm thinking if I'm free the next morning where I have to go to work, but I don't have to go to work till later, so I can stay up.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Well, we also have my other guest on tonight. It looks like he is out going somewhere. But Isaiah Leon, my guy, how are you doing tonight? Looks like you're out and about. So how's everything going, though, tonight?
It wasn't good about a couple hours ago, but it's great now. It's just so funny how a cone of ice cream can just cure everything, man. We're having a heat wave right now here where I live in the Bay Area, and it's literally like, you guys might call me soft, but I cannot handle 75 degrees now. Like, I've been blasting the AC. I've been going outside regularly, getting some ice cream. It's been 75, 80 degrees, even 85, 90 the other day. And I'm like, this is not right for me, man. I can't deal with this. So we're going through a little heat wave right now. It's literally yesterday and today, at around 9:30, I just had to go out for some ice cream because I was like, I couldn't take it being in a hot, stuffy house. The weather is not cooperating. It's humid outside. So I was like, I got to get some ice cream. And, that's where I'm at right now.
Hey, James, him 75 degrees. I would essentially, that is my comfort around New England, my guy. It's nice and 75. I take that 10 times out of 10 because what we've been averaging the last couple of weeks, at least here in Connecticut, it's been about 85 to 87 degrees essentially during the day. So I can't correlate with you, Isaiah, but glad you can enjoy your overall treat right now. So I'll essentially enjoy that while we have our show for tonight. But in terms of guys, I'll kind of really quickly go through the overall show overview. We're really going to strictly go MLB and NFL tonight. I think just for over my feeling of it, we'll probably go back to NBA next week, or maybe by the end of this week, probably by the end of this week. But I have a ton of stuff for MLB. We're actually going to do some games for NFL and MLB tonight. Some really fun stuff. We are going to do a buy or sell type of thing, as well as a stay or go via some trade targets in terms of out there that I'm going to have on a list here for you guys. And essentially, I'm going to kind of let you guys know stay or go type of thing. And Isaiah, I also put some managers on the hot seat to watch out for the second half of the season. So I also have that. And of course, the MFL segment, I have to go on a little rant about DeAndre Hopkins, of course, because something what happened there. Isaiah, obviously, I saw your stuff about Hopkins. I'll obviously get to you about that as well, too. I also want to talk about the trade deadline, about Barkley and some other guys. Derrick Henry had some stuff about that as well too. And then the Jets were also are going to be on Hard Knocks, and obviously there was some stuff about that as well. So a lot to get into for tonight. I think MLB and NFL really kind of will take the cake. If we feel like we don't have anything else we want to talk about for those two, might get a little bit of the NBA stuff with Joel Embiid and some other stuff as well too. But if not, and I feel like I'm ready to call it a night, I'll call it a night from there. So we'll kind of play it by ear, but let's have some fun with it. Let's start really quickly, guys, with our team reports. Obviously, since you guys are now here, we'll quickly go to Isaiah first. Isaiah, it was funny enough when you were telling me off the air. Right now, my Red Sox are taking on your Oakland A's. You bought your ticket for tomorrow. I'll actually be at work during that game, so I hope you really enjoy the game tomorrow. Hopefully, you don't take it too hard on you guys, because I know tonight we let you guys win. Yeah, James, we let them win, the Oakland A's. We let them take a 3-0 shutout, which I will give credit for. We didn't play great, but tomorrow we have Brian Bayer, aka our best A's pitcher, on the bump before we have our series against the Mets this weekend. But Isaiah, obviously with your Phillies, I don't know in terms of how the Phillies have been doing as of late. I'll kind of go through that. But while I'm kind of going through it, Isaiah, I'll quickly go with you with your team report.
So, Ben, you're telling me there's a chance that when I'm at the game tomorrow with your best pitcher on the mound that there's a chance that we might get no hit again or perfect game this time around?
That would be awesome, but I doubt it. I mean, we did a bullpen game on Monday. We showed you guys out, but we weren't too fortunate tonight because our hitting couldn't hit Luis Medina, who was pretty impressive. I can't lie. I mean, I've seen the guy from afar, but he was throwing 97, 98. Devers hasn't been playing the last couple nights. Maybe he'll be back tomorrow, but he's been red hot ever since the All-Star break, so it would be great to have him back. But yeah, no, you guys obviously – you took it tonight from us, and I'll accept the loss.
Well, I'll give credit where credit is due, though. That kid from Japan, Yoshida, he's special, man. Like, this kid, I was watching the game tonight because it was like the only thing on, and I was watching the game, and I saw him go to left field. I saw him go to right. I saw him go to center. I mean, you can't shift this kid. You can't really defend this kid because you throw him inside, well, he'll hit it to right field. You throw him outside, well, he'll just pull the ball to left field. Like, you just can't really defend against this kid. And it's really impressive because I think Ben and James, you guys know, a lot of these hitters from Japan, when they come over, they can't really adjust to the major league game. And they get overwhelmed by the major league pitchers. And they always struggle oftentimes more than not. So what Yoshida is doing for the Boston Red Sox, I honestly did not expect it when he first signed with the Red Sox. I was kind of like, kind of worried that when he signed with the Red Sox, to be honest, because, you're going into a big market in Boston, a place where it's like New York, where if you don't succeed right away, well, the fans are going to get on you, and they're going to get on you, and they're going to get on you. And for some guys, that's why they always will. But, I mean, Yoshida is showing that he's a big-time player. He is a guy that I think could be a superstar in the game of baseball, as he keeps growing in MLB. And he's so fun to watch, man. And I'm so jealous, honestly, that your Red Sox have him because, I mean, he'd be nice for the A's or the Phillies. But kudos to Kyle Bloom and your Red Sox for finding him. As far as the A's are concerned, before I get to the Phillies, I mean, the season is what it is, but I mean, the team recently just called up our two best prospects in Zach Gelof and Tyler Soderstrom, who's going to be part of the future. And Gelof has looked very impressive in the 3 games I believe he's played. He
looks like he has ability.
Yeah. I think he had 3 hits, 2 doubles, and a triple as his hit so far. He looks like he's not overwhelmed at the plate, and that's kind of what you want to see from these young guys, is that you don't want to see them get overwhelmed at the plate against these career major leaguers. So it's good to see. Soderstrom, however, has been kind of a different story. He does look like he's a bit overwhelmed at the plate. Need to see a little bit more from him, though. But I mean, as a whole, though, I feel like the A's starting pitching has gotten a lot better. I mean, every time it seems like, besides Monday, but it just seems like they're giving the team a chance to win, and that's pretty much all you can ask for. The offense, it's coming along all right. The bullpen seems like it's found its groove. I mean, Trevor May's the closer now. Shintaro Fujinami, I believe he had an ERA at 12 for a long period of time, but now his ERA is down to 8.75. I mean, that's a miracle considering how he started. But yeah, I mean, the A's are losing games, which is expected, but the pitchers are pitching better. The hitters are hitting better. And, I'm going to be interested to see if any team is willing to trade with the A's at the deadline. I've heard some rumors like an Aledmys Diaz might be available, and I think Boston was interested in him. Fujinami could be a target, especially with him now pitching out of the bullpen, him throwing 102 miles an hour. He's essentially the Japanese version of Aroldis Chapman when he's lights on. I mean, that kid is just dynamic when he's lights on out of the bullpen. And then you look at, guys like, potentially like a Brent Rooker, who is an all-star. Ramon Laureano has not had the greatest of great seasons. So I'd be interested to see how many players the A's are actually able to trade at the trade deadline and get some prospects back in return. But in terms of the Phillies, I mean, the Phillies, I know I called for Rob Thompson's job back in June. I think early on in June, I think I did. And since then, all the Phillies have done is just win, and win baseball games. I mean, Harper's doing well, Bone's doing well, Castellanos was an all-star. They had what's his name? Rio Muro swinging the bat a lot better now. Trey Turner's coming on strong. Bryson Stott. I mean, I looked this up today. Bryson Stott, fellas, is hitting 300 for the season. I couldn't believe that. I thought because he's the guy when you talk about guys, one of the best hitters in baseball, Bryson Stott is not mentioned in the categories of elite hitters. And just to see him hitting 300, I was so shocked. So It's good to see. Yeah, it's good to see his success. And it seems like the Phillies bullpen issue that has plagued them for years now, it looks like it's been fixed with Kimbrel, Soto, with Sir Anthony Dominguez, Jose Alvarado. The Phillies, they took 3 out of 4 from the Padres to start the second half of the season. They lost game 1, and I was kind of I think I went on a rant saying, how could you guys start the second half off laying an egg? Rob Thompson doesn't prepare these guys. I went on my classic, Rob Thompson should be fired rant, and then it seems like the team's fired up. They won the next 3 games. Then they won tonight against the Brewers, even though it was close.
It's a good win.
Yeah, even though it was a close game, but in the ninth, Bryson Stott fumbled an easy ground ball, and it could have been disastrous. But the Phillies, they've won 4 in a row. They're 10 games over 500, and they play the Brewers, I think, a couple of more times this week. And then, after that, I believe after that, if I'm not mistaken, I think they have I think it's the Braves, I think they have. But it's going to be
the Guardians.
The Guardians. Yeah,
Yep.
so the Phillies kind of have an easy run in the second half, and I could see them going on a tear. And, Dave Dombrowski, he's got to add some an outfielder, I feel like, and he's got to add a 5th starter because you cannot go into the stretch run and even in the postseason. Well, in the postseason, you don't really need a 5th starter, but you cannot go into a stretch run with just having a bullpen game every 5th day. That's just not going to work, and your bullpen's just eventually going to tire out. So really want to see the Phillies add a 5th starter before the trade deadline ends.
Yeah, the Phillies are on a 4-game winning streak. They're 7-3 in their last 10, so they've been playing really well. And the crazy thing is they're in second place, 9.5 back of the Atlanta Braves, who have just been on an absolute tear. Which, by the way, did you guys see that game tonight between the Braves and Diamondbacks? 16-13. Talk about just a rampage with no pitching at all. James, your Angels. We kind of already talked about them a little bit. They won the last 2 against the New York Yankees, which I appreciate very, very much. And then this past weekend, they lost 2 out of 3, I believe, to Houston. The game on Sunday I watched, in which the bullpen at the top of the 9th inning with 2 outs gave up that 2-run home run to Alex Bregman. Shohei got a homer at the bottom of the 9th, and then Matt Tice got robbed by Kyle Tucker, who had a very good 9th inning. A guy who's been very underrated. I think James even mentioned him as a guy who's been very underrated. I could definitely see why from this past weekend series. James, I mean, the Angels are 500 right now. Obviously, they have a couple more weeks until really one of the biggest situations potentially in their team history. So obviously, things have to really kind of either your team's favor if you guys really want to pull for it, or you guys might have to make absolutely some massive changes. They have the Pirates coming up, and then they have the Tigers. So, James, I'll kind of quickly go to you. What's your overall feeling right now with this Angels team? And is there any kind of, I guess you could say, a little belief before the trade deadline?
No. This I don't believe in it because it hasn't happened in so long, winning consistently. And something always goes wrong. You can win so many in a row, and then you can lose so many in a row. After the All-Star break, you just wondered, okay, when is Shohei getting traded? Kind of like everybody else in the national media. Man, you saw what happened on Sunday with the ESPN coverage.
Oh,
it was
goodness.
Ridiculous. Where do you want to see Shohei? And they actually asked Phil Nevin. He's like, hey, do you think he'll be with the team? Buster Only came to his dugout. Like, do you think he'll be traded by this time, or next week or whatever? I'm like, are you kidding me? Why would you ask a manager that during a game that he's managing? Like, talk about the strategy or something, not like, what everybody else is talking about or thinking about. He's not thinking about that. He's trying to win games, or he's trying his best to lose games. It seems like his philosophy, as my folks at Halos in the Infield mentions all the time, his philosophy is just awful. He'll make the wrong decisions. The team will win despite him, and it seems like that's going on right now. That series against Houston, they lost Friday, couldn't get anything going offensively. Saturday was just a wild, wild ball game that they ended up winning. They came back and rallied and won on a walk-off error. And then Sunday, Sunday was – I didn't feel safe with that 7-3 lead. I never feel safe with any type of lead unless it's by 8 or 10. I'll be honest with you. The bullpen isn't built for that. It isn't built for those, late, small leads. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's not suitable. But I mentioned Kyle Tucker the last show. Him and Anthony Santander. Now Santander didn't make the All-Star team, but somehow Hayes did in left field. But I feel like Santander, he's just like a step below Kyle Tucker. He doesn't have championships. He doesn't have awards. But both of them are so good and so undervalued. And I would take both of them on my team any day. Tucker, like I mentioned, he robs home runs. He makes the sliding catches like he did on Sunday to break the Angels' hearts. He's just awesome. So I give him all the credit in the world. It seemed like him and Bregman. I mean, that was first pitch. You saw that with Bregman when they brought in the reliever there. It was first pitch, and you knew it was gone right when he hit it. And then McCormick went the opposite way twice for home runs. It was just awful with the lead, and it was just gone right away. So after that demoralizing defeat and losing 2 out of 3 when you could have took 2 out of 3, the Yankees come in town, but they don't have Judge. Right now, Stanton is 0 for the series. You mentioned they're getting nothing from the other guys in the top of the lineup as well as the bottom. The pitching for once, starting pitching has been awesome. And the bullpen as well. And it's been amazing to see Matt Morris come back, and that felt good. But he's coming back slowly. He's pitching a day, taking a day off from the injury he had. So, he's coming along. He'll be in, I think, tomorrow's game. But Griffin Canning, our starters, you mentioned, Ohtani is the one notable and one good one. This year, he's given up the home run too much and the walks too much. He's still there with the strikeouts, but the walks need to come down. He'll start Friday against Pittsburgh, by the way. Tomorrow, Silseth will be starting brought up to start on tomorrow for Wednesday's game, 4 o'clock here against New York, which is weird. They always had a night game for their getaway day, but I guess the Angels did him a favor tomorrow. I'll tell you what, Canning did well. He had 117 pitches.
Yeah,
just unheard of nowadays. He went 6 innings, only gave up a couple of runs, and the Angels got him off the hook. And for once, they had a walk-off yesterday that was a hit. It wasn't an error. It wasn't a wild pitch or something like that. It was actually done by us. So that felt good to see for once. So it's amazing how that works. Tonight was pretty fun because you kept the Yankees really off the base paths. Patrick Sandoval for once did excuse me. He also went long in the game. I forgot his stats. Oh, yeah, so he went 7 1/3 innings, which the last 3, 4, 5 starts, he couldn't get out of the 4th inning. It was really that bad. But today, only giving up 1 run and 2 hits, 7 strikeouts. That's unheard of. He gave up 1 home run, luckily. Estevez came in, got his save like he always does. He's been perfect all year long. Hopefully I didn't jinx him for that. But he's just been awesome this year. That's why he made the All-Star team, and I'm so proud of Estevez. He was struggling so much in spring training that I was so worried about him. And they signed him to a 2-year deal. And he really didn't know what was going to happen. Mickey Moniak, this guy's been a coveted first-round pick, and he struggled in Philadelphia. He's traded over for Syndergaard, I believe. And I can't believe, Isaiah was right on that. But Moniak has been awesome. Neto, it's great to see him back. He's the one that drives the team. He's the one that has fire and desire, so I like watching him play. Ohtani's just been consistently getting hits, and the power's been there. That's been fun to see. Tonight he had an RBI triple, so that was great. Moniak.
That was scorched.
Yeah. I'll tell you, a lot of old fours, so Neto, Ohtani had 1 hit. Moniak had 3. Everybody else didn't have a hit tonight. It's just the way things are going right now for the Angels. Only a couple of guys are doing things. The rest of the lineup doesn't do much. But it's been a mixed bag of things, and the defense has been solid. Other from Renfroe sometimes and Rengifo in the infield and outfield. Hopefully the pitching can continue to be good and the offense can score just enough. I look at the standings right now. You mentioned, 500, which is whatever. 48, 9 back of the division. That's pretty much done when you think about it. Texas is 4.5 ahead of second place Houston. In the wild card, the Angels are 4.5 out. You still got Boston in the way, Cleveland, or if you flip flop Minnesota in that case. New York is right there too, 2 games ahead of the Angels. Boston's right there, a game and a half out of the third wild card team. It's gonna be interesting because that whole Ohtani trade talk. If the Angels were doing worse, I think they would have done it by now. They would have traded him by now. But since they're winning, the owner of the Angels, Artie Moreno, came out and said we're not going to trade him. Now, they might still do that. He might have to get convinced because I still don't think he's going to come back. I just don't see that. I know that every series, it feels like the Angels play, that team will try to get him. Or there's a rumor or something like that. Are the Yankees going to stay around and try to talk to the Angels about a trade since they're there? There's just so many rumors going on. I don't think he's going to New York, either Mets or Yankees. he could be a rental somewhere. I even heard some NL Central teams. I'm thinking, no, he won't go to Cincinnati or Milwaukee. It's just because of what they have in their minor league system. So they were thinking, what the Angels can get back would be more than what other teams can give. So I still think he stays on the West Coast, but he's not an Angel. So even with all this winning going on the last 2 nights, there's still so much doubt about the rest of the month, because you mentioned they go on the road after this Pirate series coming up to Detroit, to Toronto, and then the Braves. And then the trade deadline comes up on Tuesday, the 1st of August. So that's going to be an interesting day, or the day before, while we're getting our, clapped by the Braves. So that's going to be interesting.
I might have to do a trade deadline special right around that, and I'll try to have you as calm as possible, of course, during that. I might, we'll see about that specific. For me, specifically for the Red Sox, they've been really good. I know that as of late, I know that they obviously lost 3-0 to the shutout to the A's tonight, but as a whole, I mean, they've had 3 losses all in the month of July. They lost 1 game against the Cubs, but they won that series this past weekend. Right now they're split against the A's. They have Brian Bayo tomorrow. I believe that the Sox will probably win tomorrow and win that series. I don't want to jinx it, but Oakland is one of the worst teams in baseball, and they only won today. They won today essentially with 3 runs. I mean, they don't really score a lot. Brian Bayo's pitching tomorrow. Offensively, we just got to score within 4 or 5 runs, and I think we'll be fine. But they've won their last 8 of 10 games. Outside of this, though, they really kind of brought themselves from a couple of weeks from potentially selling off to now. I know we'll kind of go through a buy and selling teams, James, but I think the Red Sox, as of right now, I think they're more in a buy-in type overall feel where they can get some back-end starting pitching help. And, their Trevor Story had a really positive update today. He's going to be on a rehab assignment over in Double-A. Chris Sales started throwing today, and Garrett Willock started playing catch yesterday. So right now, a lot of positive stuff as of right now with the Sox, which has been great. Yu Chen's been coming back, and he's played really good in the field. Defensively, I think with Kike Hernandez, I'm ready for him to move on. I know that he had a great 2021 postseason, but he's just not worth it anymore. Tristan Casas, ever since the second half, has really blossomed into kind of the first overall round pick that we really brought into him. He's been blasting the ball, got 3 homers in the Cubs series. Rafael Devers looks like he's going to be on a tear pace in the second half of the season, which has been going to be massive. Alex Verdugo, I think he's been on a slow start as of late, but I think he'll get going. Connor Juan, catching, he's been fantastic. He had a couple massive hits yesterday. Pitching, Brian Bayo, James Paxton been really kind of your headline 2 guys. Chris Martin and Kenley Jansen, the bullpen, James, for the Red Sox this year compared to last year is not even close. They've got some guys in that back end that I can essentially sit and watch the game without stressing half the time about who has to come in, who has to come out. It's been really great to watch that. So, and then Masataka Yoshida, which Isaiah mentioned. I mean, he's been an absolute phenom. I was so many times over this offseason that he was an overpay. That we essentially, there's a lot of mentions about that from many people that I know. But the Red Sox really, I know it's his first year, but they found something special. He might not have the power like always, but he's a gap-to-gap hitter. He gets on base. He has great plate discipline, and he's been raking the ball as of late. He's had multi-hit games like crazy in the last couple. I mean, he had 2 hits tonight. He did have 2 hits tonight. Even though they got shut out, had 2 hits tonight. He had a hit yesterday. He had 3. The only game that he did not get a hit was the day of his birthday against the Cubs. So pretty much every other game outside of that, he's gotten multi-hit games, which has been absolutely insane for Masa. So, this team has been really good as of right now. Obviously, it's been a really up and down type of season. But if you ask me, James, right before the trade deadline, the Red Sox would be 6 games over 500. I would take that 100 times out of 100 times as of right now. I don't expect this in terms of where things would be, especially in a really tough division. But they're only 3.5 back of third place with Toronto. Toronto's been very up and down. They're streaky. And the Red Sox right now, even though they lost tonight, they're still 1.5 games back, which they were yesterday. So if they win tomorrow, if they could get some help maybe from the other teams, which sucked tonight, the Red Sox weren't able to win tonight because every team also in front of them and behind them lost. So that's a little frustrating, but can't have everything kind of go your way, even though it has been the last couple of games. It's baseball; things will happen. So yeah, I mean, it's good. We have the Mets coming up this weekend. They've been really struggling as of late. Hope to take 2 out of 3 from them. And then we have the Braves for 2. I hope we at least split because it's only a 2-game series. I looked at the probabilities. Looks like we have Charlie Morton against and Strider. So I think that we at least hopefully can just split because that offense is just an absolute wagon. And then we go on the West Coast to start off against the San Francisco Giants. So, at least for me is to at least get this game tomorrow in Oakland, get that series over with, then play the Mets. They go back to Fenway, at least take 2 out of 3 and then a split. That's all I'll ask. If you lose to the Braves, for only 2 games, I can live with it. But it'll be massive for the Red Sox because they've been playing great ball, and I know they're going to go through some slumps, but they hopefully at least can, get themselves positioned to be buyers come the trade deadline because it'll be really cool to see, especially when they have some guys healthy. So we'll see about that, though. Now we'll get to it quickly. Now we'll transit over in terms of our segment to our buyer-sell segment, James. Isaiah currently is coming back from wherever he's coming from. So we'll have him come and, kind of get his overall feeling. But let's start with the New York Mets. Do you buy or sell with them as of right now? I know that they've obviously won their last 2 games. So they want to get the Dodgers. They squeaked out what looked like an absolute, game, it was like 11-4 or whatever tonight against the White Sox, and they had to squeak it out. This team's going through a lot right now. For me personally, I think they sell. I think that they're going to go through, and I think that the National League East right now is out of reach in terms for them. The Phillies have been playing great. The Braves, of course, are going to be winners in that division. So it's really about the wild card, and they are 7 games, I think, back, of being even 500. So if you look at it right now, they have the White Sox coming up, then they have, I don't know who else they have coming up. They're the Red Sox after that. But even if they had unless they had a 2-week teared stretch, which of course things could happen in baseball, I think they're going to be sellers. What do you think?
Yeah, I still think they're going to be sellers. But the thing is, will Max Scherzer be dealt? I know that he put himself out there, I guess. Somebody heard something, I guess. So he'll be a hot commodity. Sticky commodity, let's say. Maybe some of their outfield gets moved, and they kind of bring up their young guys. I know Alvarez is already up there, and he's kind of been somewhat their savior. But the rest of the team, it just seems like they're big disappointments and big money disappointments. From what I saw in the video. So I honestly would think they would sell. I mean, they're 17.5 out, 6 games under 500. For the wild card, they're 8 back. They're with the Cubs. And percentage points, behind Chicago. Even though they've won 2 in a row. Yeah, I still think, you still have San Diego, Cincinnati, Miami ahead of them, along with Chicago. So I think they should sell. The thing is, try to get a lot for Scherzer, but the money he makes, it's going to be one of the type of those deals where you're just getting rid of the money, basically, and you're not getting much back. But you're hoping your minor league system can kind of help things out. I don't know. They might be the most disappointing team right next to San Diego.
All right. The next team, I think, is kind of the team that's very similar to the Mets this year. They paid a ton of money for a ton of guys. That's the San Diego Padres. They've been one of the most underwhelming teams I think everybody is in terms of accustomed to. They, of course, had Xander Bogaerts. They have Juan Soto. They have Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis Jr., Blake Snell, Josh Hader. I can go on, and they've been completely – I mean, heck, I think I even predict them to not potentially even win the I don't know if to say division. I think I have them right behind the Dodgers, but – to win the championship and NLCS and then potentially the World Series. Obviously, that's kind of in terms of predictions could be crazy at times. But, yeah, no, I have them at sellers too. I think that Blake Snell, Josh Hader, there could be a lot of guys could be on the move for them. You know, I wouldn't be even surprised if Bob Melvin had some hot seat overall rumors with him. I doubt he's going to probably get beyond the hot seat as a whole because it's only his first year. And, you know, we'll have to probably judge it probably within a couple years. But I do have them on the in the selling type mode as of right now.
Can I actually say they'll stay pat?
Okay. You could have 50. You could have 50-50. I know it's obviously the kind of the cheap way out, but you know, heck, since obviously I have you on here, yeah, that's fine. I'll definitely take that as an answer.
I just don't think that they're gonna make any moves. I think they still can do what they can want to do with who they have. This again, you mentioned this team was built to be something great. And I just feel like they're still going to be trying for it with who they have because they have some expiring contracts like Snell. And, yeah, he's going to be the hot commodity. Maybe you can get a value piece going forward. Maybe if you trade Snell to the Orioles, if they decide to sell. But I don't see Melvin going anywhere just on 1 year. I think he's one of the best managers, so I think they would keep him. I know they made some moves to bring up some of their young guys right now, and they're hoping that can get things going. But it's got to come up to the main guys. But what's good though, they shook up their roster, and this is what I'm meaning by this. They got rid of 3 everyday players. Rugnan Odor was designated for assignment, and I was kind of shocked by that. Austin Nola was sent down, and he's been awful. So they brought up a catcher, they brought up an outfielder, and an infielder. And those are 3 young guys from El Paso that maybe can spark them. So that's why I say I don't think maybe they'll do little trades, but a lot of teams know they don't want to deal with them anymore because, well, they've been kind of fleeced by them. And they don't have much of a farm system either. Remember, they traded most of their farm system for Juan Soto to Washington. And then they have all these big contracts. So a lot of teams won't be interested in what they have unless the Padres pay for it. So I think they're going to stand pat. They might make some little moves and act like they're sellers, but I think they're going to stand pat and try to somehow get it back into the wild card race.
All right. Next is your Angels, James. Buy or sell for your Angels. For me, James, they're 500. Obviously, when you have a 500 team with you, it's really kind of tough in terms of that feeling. I'm going to go stay pat. I think that really the Ohtani situation is going to really handle a lot of things. I think the next couple of weeks will kind of really determine a lot because, you know, there's really a lot of things can kind of happen still between now and now the deadline. You know, the Angels have the Tigers coming up. That feels like it's a very winnable series for them. Obviously, they took 2 out of 3 from the Yankees. So at least 2 out of 3, which is obviously it's good for them. The Pirates obviously have been really slumping kind of ever since their first half of the season. The Guardians really been slumping. They just took 2 out of 3 from the Pirates. Toronto, they go to Toronto. You know, the Blue Jays, I think, have been very up and down this year as a whole. And then they have the Braves. I think really that Braves series kind of really will say a lot. I think the Braves will probably have the edge there. But you look at it kind of right until the deadline, James. I think that the Angels have a lot of, I guess I wouldn't say favorable opponents, but at least opponents that you can kind of feel confident away if you can feel like you can kind of handle with them. And if kind of breaks go here and there with your way, I mean, you guys could kind of, it's really kind of on the seesaw, whatever kind of way it leans over to. So that's why I kind of have it stay pat as of right now, because I just don't know yet. I'll probably at least have within another week in kind of terms of, okay, I can kind of start leaning towards the stance or another stance. I just don't know yet. So I'll go with you, James. What's your feeling of the Angels, buy or sell?
after not this weekend but next weekend after the Blue Jay series, then we'll really know, depending on how much they're back of the wild card, because the division is unwinnable. Let's just say that. And the thing is, playing opponents that are worse record wise, I don't look at that. The Angels are bad by themselves, so you can never take an opponent too lightly, and especially with the Angels, they're not good. So they can't play down to anybody. They can always play up to somebody. That's how I feel like with this team. They're never someone, that, oh, that's an easy series, they're going to beat them. I never look at it like that. It's awful. I used to. And then they would lose. They have a hard time with Oakland. They have a hard time with Kansas City. That's the only series they pretty much won when you think about it. But when they play the better opponents, they have no chance. So it's going to come down to 2 Sundays from now on that 30th before the Atlanta series. If they're good, they might buy. If they are bad, they're going to sell what they can. Let me give you a rundown maybe of what they can sell. Shohei Ohtani, of course. Mike Trout, I don't think would be available. I don't think anybody would want to have him because of his injury history or have the Angels pay for it. Aaron Luke could be on the way out. Matt Moore. Let's go with even getting the 2 guys that they got, Escobar and Moustakas. They could always deal them away if a team really needs, infielders and they want to win. There's a chance that even though they just trade for him, they could trade him away. Renjifo's always been someone so up and down, especially this year he's down. If he went somewhere else, maybe that will make him, the starting player he was always supposed to be. And then in the outfield, when you think about it, I want to trade Moniak, but you would think someone out there would want a right fielder like Hunter Renfroe that maybe thrived in the National League. So if anyone was out there wanting an outfielder, a right fielder especially, maybe Hunter Renfroe would be your guy. And then Taylor Ward has been a definite project for the Angels. And then they have some minor leaguers like Joe Odell, who gets called up one day and literally goes down the next, and he got injured right away. He could be someone that can get traded. So, yeah, I agree with you, though. It's going to come down to how they do the next 2 weeks, or the next week, and then the next 3 series. And then if they're positive, they're going to buy, but they're going to be careful with who they trade. They're not going to try to trade their prospects away. And if they do, they have to trade the struggling ones, and the ones that are struggling to come up. That have, that what Taylor made to come up, this year or last year, they're not scheduled to be up yet. They're scheduled to be up in 1 or 2 years. So maybe those guys get dealt. So yeah, it all depends up until the 30th. If they're winning, they'll buy. If they're losing, they'll sell. And that's where that Shohei topic comes in. And it's right now a really scary time for the Angels.
Sorry, I was on mute. Since I went with your team, I'll go with my team now, and that's the Red Sox. I think as of right now, if you ask me, I think that we're buyers. I think that as of right now, starting pitching-wise, I think feeling that if we can get some guys in our back end, I know that there's been reports out looking at some back end starting pitching, maybe another guy in the bullpen. I think our offense has been really good, so maybe you can get a bat in the outfield or something like that here and there. Maybe a middle infielder or a backup catcher, I don't know. But I think personally it's more on the pitching. Just really have to add a lot in terms of our pitching, back end starting rotation, and bullpen, in our stay or go type of list here, I'm gonna actually have some guys that will go to the Red Sox in this that I think could be very affordable and very can bring some guys that can be difference makers as well. So as of right now, I have the main buyers. I just really like the way that they've been playing the last couple of weeks. Of course, things can change, and things can really kind of go downhill. But if you ask me right now, I think we're buyers. So how about you?
Well, I'm watching it, and I guess it would depend on the way they play the next couple of weeks as well. But I'm reading here that they're seeking a back-end starter and a right-handed middle relief pitcher. I don't know if Blake Snell would be your guy, or if you go and see how much Stroman would get for you, or how much you would have to get. Excuse me. The right-handed relief pitcher. I know the Padres don't have much. You can even look at what the Mets have, but I don't know if you would want that. But I see those two, of course, here.
I have a guy that's a target that I'll give it to you when we do our thing. That I think would be a very good piece for us. But yeah, no, maybe the Mets might have something. Maybe the Cardinals could have something for us.
The White Sox.
White Sox, that's another team out there. So yeah, I mean, I think we're right now kind of stayed pat. But if you kind of ask me right now, I think we're more on the buying type of side, especially with the way James, right? So in terms of right now for this month, we're one of the hottest teams. If you look at it throughout the whole entire month, and we squeaked it now into the top 10 in terms of the latest with the power ranking. So, I mean, that could obviously say a lot, too, as of right now. So, we'll kind of see about that. Transitioning over to our rivals, the Yankees. Now, I know that the Yankees have really been struggling mightily as of late. But, I mean, you think about it, they have the Royals coming up. They should have no business of struggling with the Royals. And then trying to remember who they have after. So bear with me really quick with the Yankees. With their schedule, they have the Royals and they have the Mets, and then they have the Orioles and Rays at the end of the. So they have the kind of a tougher part at the end of their month. But I think they're kind of in the middle. I think they're 50-50 as struggling as they've been. I still think that the division's still stacked. I mean, the Red Sox can very well go back to last within the next couple of weeks. I mean, it's kind of the way it's been going. Heck, Toronto was in last for a little bit of that first half of the season. It just feels like it kind of week by week or month by month, things really change within that 3 to 5 hole spot really now in the division. Really, the Rays and the Orioles really kind of have been moving ever since kind of their mid part of that stretch of that first half of the season. So it's really just been the 3 through 5, but I still think that the Yankees could make some guys bats wise. I have a guy in my Sergio that could be a really good bat for them. I would hate to see it on the other end for me, but I think it would be a really good bat for them. And then pitching, maybe some back end pitching. I know they have a ton of guys like Rodon and Herman and Montas might come back, but they all have injury problems. So I just think their rotations vary up and down. I'm outside of Cole. So I think they're kind of in the middle. What do you think?
I feel the same way. And I think if there's too much panic, I think they'll be buyers just because they feel like, hey, we can win no matter what. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go after Cody Bellinger. They kind of need some outfield offense help. I feel that way. Also, third base is kind of an issue for them. Maybe they go after Hamir Candelario of Washington. He can be a help there. Maybe if Washington is at that time where they're just going to see they're going to put out who's available, and maybe the Yankees take a flyer on him. Jack Flaherty can be a starter, in which they kind of need one of their starters to come up clutch. But I think they're going to be buyers. I think they have to be. They expect to win every year, and they don't take a year off, even though Judge is hurt. I think they feel like they still have enough to win when you pay Garrett Cole that much and Stanton, and you have Rizzo there, the leader. I think they feel like they have everything enough to win, but the players have to perform better. It would be great if there was Steinbrenner, if he was there, and he would be rummaging through the aisleway to go see the Yankees and the locker room and all that. I think they need to get fired up. It seems like right now, it seems like their offense is just so bad that you would think that they're sellers, but no, I think they'll be buyers, but they'll be tentative to make any big moves. I would say that.
All right, Isaiah, welcome. Hopefully you had a great little break that you had. Me and James were able to keep it on the fort, my guy. We've currently gone through our buy or sell overall list. We're pretty much almost at the end of it, but Isaiah, I will pretty much kind of ask you kind of once we conclude. James, really quickly, Cubs or Mariners, buy or sell for those two teams? For the Cubs, I think it's an immediate sell. And then for the Mariners, I think it's kind of in the middle. I think specifically the Mariners, they've kind of really held it a little bit up and down, but they're just so inconsistent. It's kind of a really tough team to kind of really gauge right now. So for me, for the Cubs, I think it's an immediate sell. I think they have a lot of pieces they can move on from. Mariners, I think it's kind of the other way around. And then I'll get to Isaiah with the remainder other teams that we kind of talked about when he was gone.
Yeah, Chicago Cubs, I think just like the White Sox, they both have to be in the selling mode, excuse me. They both have a lot of pieces to move, like you mentioned. With the Cubs, you have Stroman. I don't know why the hell he signed there in the first place. He could have just stayed with the Mets. He would have made enough money. He would have been that energy on that team. It seems like that's what they're missing with the Mets right now. So I didn't think that was a fit right away. Bellinger, who I just mentioned, he would get moved. I don't think Swanson would gain any interest just because of that contract. I always look at what's his name, Kendricks, who's there, the pitcher. For some reason, he hasn't been moved yet. And you would have thought someone as valuable maybe as him could help a team out there that's looking for that starting pitching relief. Maybe the Red Sox do it. I don't know. You mentioned Seattle. They can't hit a lick right now. Their offense is that bad. The starters, there's only one or two that's good. The bullpen is very shaky when they can get to it. When they can get to the late bullpen guys. So I think Seattle would be buyers, but they would be cautious because they know they would have to get someone automatically would make their offense a juggernaut. And you can't really get that without giving up a lot. So they shouldn't go after crazy. I'm thinking Juan Soto, but I don't think they'll do that. But I think they'll buy, but they'll be cautious because they know they can win, but they have to find whatever they had last year.
All right, Isaiah. So we're doing this little game that you kind of missed out on a little bit, but me and James kind of talked already about it. So we'll kind of give it now to you. So we'll have you kind of take the floor from here. But I'm just going to go through a bunch of teams with you, and it's basically pretty much buy it or sell it as of right now. So I'll start with you with the New York Mets. Do you buy them or do you sell them at this point in time?
I would sell, and I know they probably won't do it because Steve Cohen has a massive ego and he paid a lot of money for those players and he wants to win. And he's a guy that's kind of like the Jerry Jones of the MLB, where you just look at it, it's like, okay, there's no way this guy is going to sell, but I think that he has to. I think that there's a real good shot that Max Scherzer could walk at the end of the season. He's got an opt-out clause. There's a good chance that he can opt out and walk. And, if you did trade Scherzer, you would get back a lot, I still think, in return. Max hasn't been Max Scherzer, prime Max Scherzer this entire season, but I still think that you definitely would be able to get back a lot for him. I mean, his ERA is 3.99, and it keeps going down and down and down. So I think you definitely could get a lot for him. You look at guys like Starling Marte. I mean, he's been injured, but when he's been on the field, he's been productive. You look at guys like a David Robertson. I think David Robertson only signed a 1-year deal, so you definitely need to try to get something for him as well. But the Mets have a lot of pieces that I'm not saying you fully tear it down, but you trade some of these veterans that are getting up there in age, and you just try to get back a lot in return for them, mostly like Scherzer and David Robertson, and I would even say Starling Marte and even Mark Canha, because he's got like a player option and he could opt out as well. So I would entertain selling if I'm the Mets, but I don't think Steve Cohen would do it.
All right. Me and James also had sell for them. The Padres. The Padres have been one of the most one of the most underwhelming teams all season. Me and James both had them at sell. Obviously, things can change with them, but I really just haven't kind of seen them been consistent enough for me that they can just start turning things around. Even though they've had essentially constructed one of the best rosters in terms on paper, it just hasn't been there. So buy or sell the Padres.
I think the Padres will sell because they are definitely not close enough to making a playoff push. It just feels like this entire season they've lacked chemistry. They've had a lot of ups and downs. And it just seems like for the Padres that they're kind of just, they take one step forward, they take 3 steps back. They take another couple steps forward, they take another 4 steps back. So it just seems like for the Padres, they're not going anywhere. That they have a lot of pieces that I think a lot of teams would definitely be interested in, like Blake Snell, who I think is a free agent at the end of the year, Josh Hader as well. So a lot of these free agents that at the end of the year, if I'm the Padres, I'm definitely going to shop them because you definitely need to recoup some of the prospects that you lost. And I think you could get a lot for a Hader and a Blake Snell, who's turned it on as of late and looked like the ace in Tampa Bay. So if I'm the Padres, I'm definitely selling. Bold hot take. If the Padres continue to struggle and they miss the playoffs, and then let's say they finish like 15 games under 500 or even 10 games under 500, I would not be shocked if Bob Melvin takes the heat and is fired because they're going to have to scapegoat someone. And you're not scapegoating A.J. Preller. You're not going to trade away Soto. And it sucks that because Melvin's a really good manager, but when a team doesn't meet expectations or exceed expectations like the Padres are right now, and they're failing this badly, heads are going to end up rolling. Someone's going to end up being fired because of this, and I think sadly Melvin probably will be the guy being a goner at the end of the year.
The Angels, James's team. Right now, me and Isaiah, you could also kind of, for a lot of this list, kind of be like in the middle in terms of like 50-50. I will kind of give that as an answer right now. The Angels right now, I have them at 50-50. Our 500 team is it right now, but I'll take it to you. What do you think? Buy, sell, or kind of right now in the middle?
Believe it or not, if you had asked me a week ago, I probably would have said definitely sell. But after the competitive series they played against the Astros to start the second half, and they've taken 2 out of 3 so far from the Yankees. Believe it or not, I'm going to go with buy. I think they buy. I think if you look at their schedule coming up, it's fairly easy. I mean, you got the Pirates for a 3-game set in Anaheim.
James is beside himself.
You get the Tigers in Detroit. I mean, the Tigers have struggled. The Angels could realistically win 2 out of 3 against the Pirates. They could win 2 out of 3 against Detroit. They would have won 4 out of 6. Then you play the Blue Jays, the Braves, and the Mariners, but the Mariners have sucked. The Giants have been up and down. I mean, the Angels are still in striking distance of a playoff spot, and it depends on the 6-game stretch against these two terrible teams in the Pirates and the Tigers. If they struggle against those two teams, then yeah, you're selling. But if they are win 4 out of 6 against the Pirates and the Tigers, I mean, Perry Manazin's gonna buy because they're winning. They're in striking distance of a playoff spot. Might as well go for it.
All right, now Isaiah, it's gonna be my team now. You're gonna have to choose from buy or sell or be in the middle. I won't be offended by anything that you'll have here. I'll just respect it. So the Red Sox, what's your overall feeling of them?
Oh, the Red Sox. That's a tough one. Red Sox. I think they buy because Boston right now, yeah, they're sitting in 4th place in the AL East. But if you look at the AL East as a whole, the Red Sox are 4th place, but they're behind the Blue Jays and the Orioles. I think the Orioles and the Blue Jays are definitely going to be one of the wild cards. And then you look at the last wild card, which is the Guardians. The Red Sox are it's going to be the Astros, the Orioles, and the Blue Jays. One of those combinations. The Red Sox are only 3 games back. So if I'm Boston, I'm like, dude, you're 3 games back of a wild card spot, and you play the Orioles, the Blue Jays down the stretch, you might as well go for it because you have a good chance of making it into the playoffs because you play those teams later on in the season. So I'm Boston. I'm going for it. I think that for the Red Sox, even if they barely miss the playoffs, I think they've already exceeded expectations because I think coming into this season, I had Boston being in last, and for them to be competing for a playoff spot, even though the East is so tough right now, it's definitely a great accomplishment by Alex Cora and the Red Sox.
Now the Red Sox rival, the Yankees. What do you think about them? I know that they've been sliding as of late, but for me right now, I have them at 500 in terms of kind of in the middle because I still feel that they have a team enough where they can turn it around over time. But Isaiah, you and Laura were saying Aaron Boone could be on the hot seat by the end of this season. And this could be potentially see something down the road if the Yankees don't turn things around. This could be somebody that could be definitely on the hot seat. I know for my area right now, I've heard a ton from Yankee fans about Aaron Boone. So what do you think?
Oh man, I don't think the Yankees can afford to sell. I mean, imagine if they sold and the New York media would be absolutely crushing the heck out of them if they sold. So yeah. I don't think they can sell. I think they have to buy, and I think the Yankees are going to be going after like the biggest of big fishes out there. I think Dylan Cease is a possibility for them. Shohei is definitely a possibility. You got to look at like all the top studs that are on the trade market. I mean, the New York Yankees, they're going to be in on every single one of those guys. So for me, they're going to be buyers because they cannot afford to buy. It's going to be like the Tigers when Dave Dombrowski was there and their owner was like, no, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. Even though everybody was like, dude, you're getting up. Your team is getting up there in age. You keep, pouring money into it to try to fix a broken ship, and it's just not going to work. So, but it's like that's what it is with the Yankees. I think if Brian Cashman decided to sell and tear it all down, I think that he would be out of a job in a matter of hours.
And the last two on the list for buy or sell that we have is the Cubs and the Mariners. What do you think about the Cubs, Isaiah?
I think the Cubs will sell because I don't think that they're going to be close to a playoff spot. In fact, they're 38 and 57 right now.
It's definite sell.
Yeah, definite sell for sure. I mean, I think a couple weeks ago, the Cubs were what, 30? They were like 5 games under 500. They had climbed, I'm looking at the wrong team. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the Nationals. I was kind of confused. I was like, there's no way the Cubs would have had a 14-game losing streak and nobody knows about it. But, I mean, they're 44 and 50 right now. Yeah, the Cubs are 44 and 50. If you look at it, they're in the playoff race with the Phillies, the Marlins, the Reds are in there, the Giants as well, the D-backs. It's tough because that wild card race in the NL is just so loaded right now, and I think they do have a chance, but they're definitely on the outside looking in. And Stroman, I think they should trade him because he's definitely a guy that I think will walk at the end of the season, given the historic season that he's having.
And then the last team is the Mariners. They've been kind of like right up and down, specifically consistently. This could be probably the toughest team to kind of gauge without the whole entire list. What do you think about the Mariners, Isaiah?
I'm 50-50 on them. You're right. This is the toughest team to gauge. They're 47-47. They're only about, I would say, they're only about like 2 games back of a wild card. They definitely could make it, but unlike the Red Sox, they don't play the Blue Jays and the Orioles a lot to end the season. So that's kind of what is going to be a big obstacle to them. So I think the Mariners, it depends what they do in the next couple of weeks. I think we'll have a better idea on what they do going forward.
All right. Now let's get to our fun other game that we're going to do, and that is stay or go. I'm essentially going to list a ton of guys that are going to be out there essentially on the market, and essentially it is, do they stay or do they go? If they go, I would also like to see if you guys happen to potentially get a fit for those specific type players. We're going to have a lot of fun with this one. So the first one, of course, we have to go with the obvious one. That is Shohei Ohtani. For me, I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to stay. I think he's going to stay with you, James, for the whole entire season. He's going to walk and get the money. But some other team, I think as of right now, there's going to be some teams out there that are going to make some offers by the deadline. But I think as of right now, it's going to be so hard, especially with the contract. I just don't know how many teams want to take a contract just for a rental, as great as he is. So I think that they're going to keep him. The Angels are still kind of within a 500 kind of up and down type reach. Things can change within the next couple of weeks for him, but I have him staying, and I'm going to go with him. I get of him walking by the end of the season. So James, of course, no pressure. It's up to stay or go, Shohei Ohtani.
The smartest thing to do would be to trade him. They should have did it last trade deadline. But the owner, of course, is an idiot. He still thinks that there's a chance that this team can get it going. No trade. Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's going to play out the season with the Angels and then probably go to the Dodgers. The smartest thing, though, would be to trade him to the Dodgers and get whatever he can back. But they're going to get that, the compensatory pick, second round pick probably for next year's draft back for him, and that's pretty much it. So they're going to keep him. He's going to stay.
Isaiah, Shohei Ohtani, stay or go?
I know I said the Angels would buy, but this guy, Ohtani, has been the toughest call I've had to make because he is a free agent at the end of the season, and he does a lot of things for the Angels. Having said that, and having said that they're going to buy, Shohei Ohtani, folks, will be trading the red and white, the Angels jersey here for Yankee pinstripes. I do believe that the Yankees are so desperate right now. The Yankees are in a position where they have to make a splash to turn their season around. And Brian Cashman knows this, that if he doesn't pull this off and turn the season around, his team is toast, and he might lose his job. So I think the Yankees are going to be so desperate just to get Shohei because they know if Shohei enters free agency, I don't think he's going to consider them because he wants to be on the West Coast. So what they're going to do is going to try to do what I forgot who mentioned this on MLB Network today, but I think it was Ben Verlander, the younger brother of Justin Verlander, who said, the only way Shohei goes to an East Coast team is that they trade for him, and he tries it out, and if he likes it and they go on a magical run, then he re-signs there. I think the Yankees think that they have to do it. I think the Yankees think that in order to get Shohei in free agency, we have to get him now. And I think they're going to be so desperate. They're going to trade Volpe. I think they're going to trade Oswaldo Peraza and a lot of their young players in order to get him. And I think that Brian Cashman is like, you know what? I'm going all in. I know it's a rental, but I'm going all in. And I think he pulls it off and trades trades for Ohtani. And I think for the Angels, I think they only do it because it's such an enticing package.
I don't want those losers on my team.
What do you mean? Volpe's batting .350 after eating chicken parm.
His stats have been declining like crazy the last couple of weeks, but we'll see.
Right.
Before we get into the next couple here, just getting some comments is about it says go Warriors, and then Dave Aspara said what's up Isaiah. So those are comments there. Next one, guys, is Dylan Cease from the White Sox. I think he's going to go as well. I think he's going to go. I have him going to the Houston Astros. I think that the Astros would be a perfect fit for Cease. He's a frontline starter. Hunter Brown, of course, has been kind of a youngster. He's kind of been inconsistent. Javier is, of course, really solid. But if you have a 1-2 punch of Framber Valdez and Dylan Cease, this is a very scary Houston Astros team that, of course, gets really hot when it comes to October the last couple of years. I think it's a really good fit for their rotation. So I have Dylan Cease walking and leaving the White Sox because they're completely out of it and selling. So I have him leaving and going to Houston. James, stay or go with Dylan Cease? And which team? I don't know if you want.
Okay, he's going to go. And because I saw Alex Manoah absolutely deploy himself today, or just he's been awful. Remember, they sent him down to the development league. He had a couple of starts there. He came back up today and got shelled against San Diego. So I think Dylan Cease or maybe any other starter will go to the Toronto Blue Jays. I think they're that desperate. They have some holes that they need to fill up. They feel like they can really make some noise if their offense gets going. But their starting pitching is kind of the thing holding them back. So I think their bullpen is fine. They get to Romano. He's great, the all-star. But because of Manoah and his struggles, I think they're going to go after Cease or any other starting pitcher out there.
All right, as Dylan Cease, stay or go?
He will go, and I think that he's going to go, sadly, to the Houston Astros as well. There was a report today that the Houston Astros intend to seriously pursue him. They need starting pitching, especially if they want to keep up with the Texas Rangers. You got Framber Valdez there, but that's pretty much about it. You know, Christian Javier hasn't really looked that good this season. Urquidy, I believe he's hurt, if I'm not mistaken. And they've tried a bunch of other rookies in there. They don't really have they don't really have an established starter that they can count on. And for the postseason, you got to have at least 2 or 3 established starters if you want to go deep into the playoffs. So I think the Astros are desperate, and I think that they're going to make a move and get Dylan Cease to be a member of the Astros and fortify that pitching staff.
Next one is Marcus Stroman. Now, Stroman, it was potentially another guy I could have had for the Astros. But for me specifically, guys, I have him with the reunion with Toronto. I think it's a really great fit for him to go back. He could obviously be with Gossman. I think Manoah's going to be around Bassett. I just think the vibes would be great there. And he essentially, of course, has pitched in the division already in the AL East. So, of course, he's not unfamiliar with it. So I have Stroman going back to Toronto as they, of course, boost their pitching. I'll go to Isaiah first. Marcus Stroman, stay or go?
He will go, and he will go to the Texas Rangers. The Texas Rangers need an ace after DeGrom got hurt. They have been very aggressive this entire, the last 2 off seasons. They're a team right now that's 17 games over 500. They're playing very well right now, and they just need 2 things. They need an ace, and they need bullpen, and more bullpen because their bullpen is absolute crap. But yeah, you got to get that ace right now because you need an ace come playoff time. I like Nathan Eovaldi, but he's more of a number 2, and also Heaney's more of like a number 4, number 5. Dane Dunning is not an ace. You can't count on him being an ace come postseason time. John Gray's more of a number 3, number 4. So they need that ace, and Marcus Stroman is pitching lights out right now. I think the Rangers go out and get him at the trade deadline.
How about you, James?
He's going somewhere. Obviously, he doesn't like pitching in the National League. I was going to say the Giants. What do you think about that?
I don't hate it. Giants have been really on the up climb as of right now. Alex Cobb is actually on my list in terms of some guys that could be on the move. He also will be a perfect guy for a team because he has term. So with a lot of guys with term, they could be able to keep him and then keep him for an extra year. So I would not hate that overall fit there for the Giants.
So I'll say that are the two Texas teams.
Yeah, I definitely could see that as well.
I can't see Toronto, though. I don't see him going back there ever. I don't know why.
Well, time will tell. We'll see. But he's going to be on the move with the Cubs selling, and he's a perfect guy specifically for any team because he does have that term eligible for the following year. So that would be fascinating to see. Next guy is Jordan Hicks. The Cardinals are going to be selling. He's going to be. I feel like he's going to be a very fascinating guy, reliever on the market. I have him leaving. I have him join the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox are looking for some bullpen depth. Chris Martin, John Schreiber, Kenley Jansen, but you put Jordan Hicks not back in the bullpen. That bullpen for the Red Sox is from essentially one of the weakest from last year to essentially absolute unit. I mean, you essentially can have guys. I mean, Jordan Hicks throws absolute flames, and essentially, if his command is on point, they could between Kenley Jansen, Chris Martin, John Schreiber, they can have guys essentially in the second half. The Red Sox are really within the mix of the race. You can kind of go with different guys to close games, and you can be able to save arms specifically in that back end. So I have Jordan Hicks actually in a trade package with another pitcher that I have in this overall list going to the Red Sox from the Cardinals. So I have Jordan Hicks leaving. He's going to the Red Sox for me. I said Jordan Hicks staying or leaving from the Cardinals.
He's going to leave, but it's going to take a lot to get him. And I think that the team that is going to get him is going to be the team that I mentioned before for Marcus Stroman that needs relief help, and relief help badly. They went out and got Aroldis Chapman. They have Will Smith. But let's face it, Aroldis Chapman, he could pitch the 7th and 8th, and I think that would actually be beneficial to Texas because – that means the Rangers can have a very dominant 8th or 9th inning, and then you could have Hicks coming in and firing in the 9th. So I got him going to the Rangers. I think the Rangers are going to be very aggressive. I think that the Rangers are going to be swinging for the fences because they know that they're a World Series contender, and if they can get the bullpen help and also the ace, watch out for Texas in the postseason because with Bruce Bochy, with Corey Seager, with Marcus Semien, and even though I want him, but I don't think they'll get him. Hopefully, Shohei Ohtani. But I think the Rangers are definitely a team to to reckon with in the postseason.
How about you, James? Stay or leave for Jordan Hicks?
If he was a left-hander, he would be an Astro already. You saw on Sunday they had issues, and Saturday, pitching to lefties, they had issues because all they had was righties. All they have is Valdez as their left-handed starter, I believe, and that's it. So, not there. This might shock somebody. The first team would be Arizona, and then the more realistic team would be the Dodgers.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's very, we'll see. Next guy, Nolan Arenado. I know that there's been a lot of chatter here and there that he could be on the move. This could be one of the most hot commodity overall moves for a team that can make a massive second half push. He's had fantastic still numbers. I actually have him staying. I don't think that the Cardinals are going to unload that overall contract. Between him and Goldschmidt, I think that those two guys as of right now are probably going to stay. I feel like everybody else out there for the Cardinals is probably going to be open for business as their general managers said that they were going to be. But I wouldn't be surprised essentially if Arenado or Goldschmidt within the next couple of seasons they have some trade calls for. I would not be surprised about that. James, we'll start with you. Nolan Arenado, stay or go?
No, I think he's going to stay. The I think they feel like they have a really small chance of making it, and they're just gonna. Since they're the Cardinals, they feel like, hey, maybe we can make a season out of this, make a run. But I just think he's worth too much to them, so I think he's gonna stay for this year for sure.
How about you, Isaiah?
I think he's gonna stay as well. I was trying to think of places for him to go. Then you mentioned the contract. It just doesn't make sense for the Cardinals to trade him unless they're really gonna blow everything up. But if they do trade Jordan Hicks, watch out, because Jordan Hicks, I believe he's got like 3 years of arbitration left. So if you trade him, then I think that could signal that everybody's open for business. And he's only 26 years of age, and he could be your future your closer for a long, long time. So I think that if Hicks is gone, watch out. I could see Arenado and Goldschmidt being gone. But I just don't see how the Cardinals unload that contract. And, there's a lot of teams that could be interested if he is available. But I just think, the Cardinals, like James said, they want to try to make a push maybe this year, see if they can salvage something, and then next year as well.
Next guy I have is David Robertson. I know that the Mets are probably going to be in more of a sell type of mode as of right now. He's probably going to get a lot of overall interest from many teams. I have David Robertson leaving. I have him going to the Minnesota Twins. The Twins really, I think, need some decent back end help. They have obviously one of their main guys there. I forgot his. He's nasty. I mean, he throws. I'm trying to remember the Duran, the first name or whatever. Obviously, he's been great, but I feel like the Twins specifically, they're still right around the AL Central mark. They get a guy like David Robertson. I think that's kind of like the Jorge Lopez that they made from last year, kind of that overall move for them. So I think they'll be a really good fit for them. I just think Johan Drohan, that was Duran, that was the name. But yeah, I just look at it, they have Lopez still in that back end of that overall bullpen. But I think you get Robertson. I think you're really kind of getting at something there. So I said David Robertson. Of course, he was a former Philly. Do you think that he's going to leave?
I think he's gonna leave. He's on a 1-year deal. He's got about $2 million on his deal. And I think for David Robertson, the Mets need to trade him because they need to get some value back for him. So for me, I got David Robertson getting traded, and believe it or not, this might be a crazy, crazy take. He's not gonna go to a serious World Series contender. He's gonna go to James's Los Angeles Angels to pair with Carlos Estevez in that bullpen. You talk about the Angels. They have Estevez, and who else? You need a guy that can get it to Estevez. And I said they're gonna trade Shohei, but they're still gonna be buyers because they're gonna want to get into the wild card factor. They're gonna pick up Robertson, and it makes sense because Billy Epler worked for the Angels, so he knows a lot of the Angels farm system.
As James is trying to question himself here, James, what do you think? Stay or go for David Robertson?
Wait. So you're trading Ohtani, and that's basically selling. But you're saying they're buying and getting Robertson, among others, maybe. But you trade your best player away. How is that buying when you're selling the best player in the world away?
Because let's face it, dude, Ohtani's great, but baseball is a team game. They'll get more pieces. They'll get Volpe. They'll get Peraza. They'll get some of these young pieces, turn it around, and they can make a run. I mean, Anthony Volpe has looked like a star ever since he turned it or he fixed his hitting stance.
Isaiah's playing fantasy baseball. Anyway, David Robertson. Oh, God. This is not MLB The Show, dude. I actually agree with Ben there with the Twins. They could always use some more help. The one team that was interesting was Miami, but I don't think the Mets are going to trade within division. even if it is with
No,
Florida or
that's a good flip,
Miami.
though. I do
Oh,
like that.
yeah, I got Minnesota just like you, Ben.
Next guy up here is Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Montgomery, I think, has been really a solid number 3, number 4. And for me, I have him leaving. I am actually going to the Boston Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox have been looking for a number 3, number 4 starter. I think he really fits that mold with the Red Sox, and I think I have him with the trade of Jordan Hooks and Jordan Montgomery to the Red Sox. And I think that the Red Sox can give the Cardinals back a decent overall package back. So I have Jordan Montgomery going over to Boston. I have him leaving the Cardinals. How about you, James?
His nickname is Gumby. Anyway,
Yep.
Since he's a lefty, I see him going to the Astros. They really need a lefty. They're going to get 2 lefties, a starter and a reliever. And I think he's going to be one of those lefty pieces going to Houston.
How about you, Isaiah? Jordan Montgomery, stay or go?
I think he stays. Actually, I think the Cardinals have said like, "Hey, you know, we wanna contend in 2024," and he's got about 2 more years left under contract. So I just don't think right now it makes a lot of sense for the Cardinals to move him unless they get a big package. Which for Montgomery, I don't think they would. I think that they would get a solid package, but I don't think they would get a massive package in order to deal him, because when he was with the Yankees, he was all right. I mean, he wasn't like bad, and he's pitched good with the Cardinals. But I think for Montgomery, I think he stays because I don't think the Cardinals get the package they want in order to deal him.
All right. This guy up might be the most big talked about name on the starting pitching market outside of Cease and some others, Lucas Giolito. This is a guy essentially I think a lot of teams are going to want out for him. He was not great tonight, yesterday night against the Mets, but as a whole, he has essentially been very solid. Lucas Giolito, I'll have him leaving, and Lauro, if you're up right now, I have him going to your Los Angeles Dodgers. I think that he's a SoCal guy. I think just right now that the Dodgers, the middle part of that rotation, I just think it really fits the mold. And I actually have somebody else going with Lucas Giolito to the Dodgers, and you'll find out later on in the list. So I'm going to the Dodgers. How about you, James?
Yeah, I agree with you. Giolito? It makes sense. They need it. Walker Buehler's not coming back. Dustin May's not coming back. They need that righty in the rotation. So it makes sense. And they're not going to be done getting another starter. They're going to get more.
How about you, Isaiah? Lucas Giolito, stay or go?
He will go, and I agree with you guys. I think he goes to the Dodgers. They need starting pitching. I already have the Astros, I believe, getting Dylan Cease. The Rangers are going to fill their starting pitching need by getting Marcus Stroman. The Dodgers are the next team with starting pitching needs. So I think they go after Giolito. I know that they're probably confident that they can re-sign him. I know it's going to be a rental, but they're probably going to re-sign him. So it makes a lot of sense. Like James mentioned, Buehler's not coming back. May's not coming back. Kershaw is out now. So I think for the Dodgers, you got to get more starting pitching. And like James mentioned, they're going to get at least 2 starting pitchers, not just 1.
All right. And another pitcher out there that could have some decent interest is Shane Bieber from the Guardians. Now, Bieber also has been balancing injury problems the last couple of weeks, which might affect his overall availability. But it seems like right now the MRI has been looking decent and clean. So without further ado, if he is clean, I have the Guardians having him walk, and I have him going to the Baltimore Orioles. I think that the Orioles essentially you essentially put him in the overall rotation. They have Dean Kramer, Bradish. They've been kind of decent pieces. But if the Orioles really want to compete, which they're in a position right now, Shane Bieber would be a really good piece. He's not the same pitcher he once was, but I think as of right now, he could be a really good frontline arm, and he could really give him a lot of innings and be a big boost. So I have Shane Bieber walking, and I have him going to the Baltimore Orioles. Isaiah, what do you think about Shane Bieber? Stay or go?
If he's healthy, he will go. If he's not healthy, obviously he will stay. As far as where I think he will go, because I'm assuming he's going to be healthy, I got him going to another AL team as well, and I got him going to the Tampa Bay Rays. You know,
Ooh,
he
I
was
like
Shane
that.
Bieber was in the, I believe he was in the minors when Kevin Cash was the bullpen coach for the Cleveland Guardians, then the Indians at that time. And so he has a lot of familiarity with Shane Bieber, and I think that with the Rays, you've seen the Rays. You know, yeah, they have one of the best records in all of baseball, but their starting pitching has not been great as of late. McCallahan's been good. All the other guys have been decent, but they're 3 and 4 starters. They've been just trying like bullpen games, or they've been just trying a bunch of rookies. And when you're in the playoffs, you need at least 2 or 3 established starters to win if you really want to win. So I got Shane Bieber with him being healthy. I got him going to the Tampa Bay Rays. Oh, Ben, I think you're muted.
Sorry, James, I was on mute. Shane Bieber, James, what do you think? Stare go.
I think he's going to stay. He's been out, so many weeks before the All-Star break, and he shut down at least 2 more weeks with the forearm inflammation. So I just don't see him getting moved this trade deadline. I really don't.
All right. Next guy we got is Eduardo Rodriguez. The Tigers going to be in a selling type mix. And I actually have Eduardo Rodriguez going. I actually have him going to the Philadelphia Phillies. He could be right in the middle part of the rotation. You have Aaron Nola there. You have Taijuan Walker. But I think specifically that they could get a decent southpaw, and Eduardo Rodriguez would be a really good fit in that middle of the rotation for the Phillies. I think with the other suitors for Rodriguez, I think the Astros and the Red Sox could be potentially in terms of reunion. But I think the Phillies could be a really good fit for Rodriguez, and I think it wouldn't cost a lot. He's had a really good first half when he's been out there on the field. So I am going to the Phillies. Isaiah, what do you think of Eduardo Rodriguez? Stay or go?
I think he's going to go. And Ben, I agree with you. I think he goes to the Phillies because the Phillies are another team that needs another starting pitcher. Nola's a free agent after the year. Zach Wheeler, I think he's got two more years left on his deal, or 3 more years left, or I think 2 more years left. Rodriguez he's got 2 more years after this left as well. I don't think he's going to cost as much as the other big names on the market because there's just so many big name starters out there on the market. And when you look at Philly, they're a team that I think can compete for a World Series title right now, and they have the offense. All they just need is starting pitching. And, Rodriguez just fits the bill as that lefty next to Ranger Suarez, next to paired with Nola and Wheeler. It just makes a lot of sense for the Phillies to balance their rotation and add that, fifth starter into the rotation.
And James, what do you think for Eduardo Rodriguez? Stare up.
Man, that's a tough thing because Detroit has, not said much. He said he wants to stay, but I think they might end up trading him. I could see if Kershaw continues to be out, and if he's not as good, maybe the Dodgers go after him. There's always a chance for a possible reunion with the Red Sox or the Rangers or the Mariners. But
Yes.
I'm kind of looking at the Dodgers in that sense.
All right, now we're going to get into some other batters. I know we've kind of gone through quite a bit of pitchers. Tim Anderson is our next guy out. He's going to be essentially he hasn't been having great numbers this year, but he's been overall his OPS plus and everything the last couple of years has been phenomenal. Guys, he's actually leading in the highest in terms of ground ball rate this year out of any other position player all season, and he essentially has not had that without the last couple of years. So with that being said, I think that he's going to leave. I mean, the White Sox are really going to be unloading a lot of guys. I think really outside of Luis Robert. And I have him going actually in a package deal with Lucas Giolito to the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Dodgers really still need some help at shortstop. I think he really fits that mold there. I don't think that the Dodgers are going to be also afraid to kind of try to get a reclamation project in a guy like Anderson from this year. And he's been a really good player in years past. I think he could just come in and just really be his overall self. And I think that he just might need to change the standard because I just think that his overall culture and stuff is really catching up to his overall play. So I have him leaving, and I have him going to the Dodgers. What about you, James?
I'm gonna say he. Oh man, I really don't like him, but I just he hasn't hit a home run in a year. I think in a whole calendar year. Since Colton Wong is struggling so much with Seattle, I could see him sliding over to second base and being traded over to the Mariners to try to pump their lineup up. I think he would fit that ballpark a little better than the White Sox home ballpark. So I'm gonna go Seattle. I think they try to beef up their infield, and they're just trying to get some type of offense. So that's why I see that.
And Isaiah, what do you think about Tim Anderson? Stay or go in this case?
I love James's idea of Tim Anderson moving to second. That's exactly what I was going to bring up. I think he moves to second base, and I think that gives him a lot more options when it comes to a trade. And I got him going to the Milwaukee Brewers. I think that the Brewers, you look at right now, the Brewers second baseman is some guy named, I believe his name is or Bryce Terang. I saw him today. He is a rookie who got overmatched a lot this year in the big leagues. Tim Anderson's a guy that, he hasn't hit a home run in a long time. He's hitting 234, but he's still a proven major league batter. So I got the Brewers picking him up and trying to make a run for one of the wild cards. And in the National League is also the NL Central as well.
All right, here we go, Isaiah. A guy on the A's here for you. Brent Rooker. I have him essentially on the list. He's essentially going to be a guy that's going to be on the move. I don't think that he's going to cost a lot for any other team, but I have him going to the Milwaukee Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers, I think, would be a fantastic fit for Rooker. He can play first base, and Rowdy Tellez right now on the injury list. They don't really have a lot in terms of production right now at the first base. So I think Rooker could be a really good fit there, and he's going to be one essentially out of a couple guys essentially. It's going to be moved from your A's, Isaiah, but I think it's going to be just a really good fit for him over there. So, Isaiah, since, of course, you're the A's fan here, Rooker, of course, stay or go. Probably inevitably, you're probably thinking the go route. So what do you think specifically? Where do you think it could be a really good fit for Brent Rooker?
Believe it or not, I don't really think he'll get traded because he's got 4 years of arbitration left, and the A's would be fools to be preaching about, we want guys that are on cheap contracts and trade a guy that's has 4 years left of cheap contract left. I could be shocked because the A's have been known to do some stupid stuff like that before. With Matt Chapman, they traded him when he had like 3 or 2 years left of cheap contract left. The one that bothered me was Sean Murphy, who had 3 years left of cheap arbitration left, and they dealt him, and it just didn't make any sense. But if we're gonna go with the goal route, the team that I'm watching for the most, believe it or not, is the Angels, because I think that Brent Rooker could replace Shohei Ohtani as their DH. And I'm being dead serious about that. I think that Rooker could replace Ohtani. Because I said they're going to buy, but they're going to trade Shohei. So they need to replace Ohtani at DH. And Brent Rooker has shown he's a great power hitter. He hit 15 home runs before the All-Star break. He lined a massive double at the All-Star break. So I think that Brent Rooker, if he doesn't get traded, watch out for the Angels, because the Angels need a DH if they trade Ohtani. Yeah, he's not going to give you the same production as Ohtani, but I got the Angels. If they do move, the A's move Rooker, I got him going to the Angels to replace the production of Ohtani as the DH spot.
James, before you start questioning more stuff, my guy, Brent Rooker, stay or go in terms of his case? Where do you think could be a decent fit?
Well, definitely not in division. Nobody does that.
A's have done it before. We got Alberto Callaspo from you guys back in the day.
Okay, but that's just bad. I honestly think you've seen the way the Yankees have been not hitting as of late. I can maybe see Rooker going there. I feel like maybe he's put enough numbers up that the Yankees say, "Hey, we need a little jolt in our lineup," and then I think Brent Rooker would be the guy going to the Yankees. Definitely not the Angels, though. I definitely don't see that. That's just weird.
All right, we only have a couple more guys left, and then we're going to, I think, turn our attention to the NFL because we have had quite a bit of stuff in baseball. We'll probably save the manager stuff for next episode. But we're having a lot of fun with this stuff, so I'd love to keep this stuff going. Next guy up, we got Cody Bellinger. Of course, the Cubs are going to sell a lot. He's essentially going to be out there. For me specifically, I have Cody Bellinger going to the New York Yankees. The New York Yankees really need some firepower in their overall lineup, and I think that's just going to be a really good fit for the Yankees. Laura, hope you're doing well, my guy. I see us join the program. But yeah, I have Cody Bellinger going to the Yankees. So Isaiah, what's your overall thinking? Cody Bellinger, stay or go?
He's going to go because he's on a one-year deal, and the Cubs are not good right now, and they need to trade their pieces to get some things back. I got him going to the Yankees as well. He makes a lot of sense for them. They need another outfielder. They don't have a left fielder. I think they tried Aaron Hicks. That didn't work. They tried Peraza. That didn't work. They tried a bunch of people, and that hasn't worked. And they have Bader in center, and then right field. They're waiting for Judge to come back. But I think Bellinger will go, and I think that Bellinger makes a lot of sense for the Yankees. And he's not going to cost a lot because he's going to be only on a 2-month rental. So for the Yanks, I got them getting Bellinger as well as Shohei.
And James, Cody Bellinger, stay or go?
He's going to go. The three teams that I see is the Giants, Guardians, and Yankees. I don't see the Giants. I just think that would be weird, and at AT&T Park where the ball doesn't fly out too much, I can't see that there. Bellinger, it's not big enough place for him to play there. So I also see the Yankees. So forget what I said about Rooker, or maybe they'll do both. I don't know, but definitely Rooker's not going to go to the Angels.
Laura had some comments here. I can see Bellinger yanking and extending him. That could be fairly possible. And then he also said he can remain a Cub. So we'll see about Cody Bellinger's market. That would be very fascinating in terms of one of the guys out there. Next guy out there is actually, this is going to be one of the most underrated guys out there in the market, but he's going to be somebody to watch out for. Jeimer Candelario from the Washington Nationals. This is somebody that I think that's going to get some very fascinating overall teams out there to watch. I don't really know. I mean, he's kind of just one of those guys that I think could be a potential fallback. He plays third base. Let me take a look over with because I know they're going to sell, of course. I'm going to go. You guys are going to be very fascinated about this one. I have Jeimer Candelario joining the Baltimore Orioles. I think this would be a very fascinating overall move for them. They have a really young kid, a really young rookie, Jordan Westberg or whatever. But I think that for Candelario, if the Orioles are really competing there, I think it's a really good fit for them. So I have him going there. I'll go to you, Isaiah. Jeimer Candelario. Who do you think he can go?
Oh, man. I think he's going to go for sure because I think that the Nats are definitely going to sell. When you look at Candelario, he's a doubles machine. And, I don't know why Detroit traded him. It makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, he could definitely have helped Detroit right now, but the Tigers dealt him to the Nats. And I think that it was a terrible mistake by their front office at that time. He's only making $5 million. So that's not a lot of money for him. Believe it or not, I know that I've had a lot of players go to this team, the New York Yankees. I think the Yankees, they're going to make
that's a good fit
to turn it around. And remember, Josh Donaldson was their third baseman. and now he's going to be most likely gone for the year with a grade 2 sprain, I believe, in his calf. So they need a third baseman, and I think Candelario fills the gap really well for the Yanks. And to turn their season around, you got to make big splashes. And Candelario is not going to be a big splash, but the moves that I got them making, that's going to be enough of a splash to turn their season around.
And you, James, Tom or Candelario, where do you think he could be going to next?
This might shock you guys. Since this team traded away Luis Ariz, they kind of feel slated offensively. Minnesota Twins. Right now, with Jose Miranda on the shelf injured, they're going with Donovan Solano and Kyle Farmer at third base. But Farmer, is an outfielder, and Solano's kind of off and on. I think that'd be an awesome fit there. Doubles hitter, like Isaiah mentioned.
Is hurt.
Huh?
Royce Lewis is hurt. He plays third base too.
Yeah, Royce Lewis as well. If those guys aren't going to play, you need somebody. Target field has some big gaps. I think that'd be an awesome fit. I really do. And in a division where it's very winnable and you're going for that and not the wild card, I think it's a risk you have to take. It would look good, too, because, again, you traded away the guy that's going for 400. Sure, you got the starting pitching for Pablo Lopez, but you need to replace that guy you traded, and I think that'd be an awesome move.
All right, one more guy, and then I'm actually going to give it to you guys. You guys can get the chance to pick one guy that we have not mentioned out of this list, and you guys essentially can give me a chance to essentially do a stay or go overall thing. So while I give you this last overall guy, throughout the whole entire list, guys, you guys essentially have an overall thinking of picking one guy from the list that you guys can see it to leave in terms of this overall deadline, and then you can give it over to me in terms of a buy or sell. But the last name I'm going to give it to you guys here is Blake Snell. I think Blake Snell essentially going to have a decent market out there, and I think that there's going to be some teams out there for his services. Oh, man. I'm going to go on a limb on this one, and I have Blake Snell leaving the Padres, and I have him joining the Atlanta Braves. I think that the Braves really they're at rotation. You can get some boosted help there. And, I mean, if the Braves are going all in, Antopoulos is definitely a guy that's not going to be afraid of going out there. I mean, I know Fried's out there essentially still on the shelf, but essentially you could have a punch of Strider, Blake Snell, Elder, and Fried. I mean, that essentially, I don't know many guys that could be able to stay along with that one. Snell remained a Padre. I mean, that's probably very feasible, Oro. I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about other teams out there for him. Man. I was thinking maybe he could be in that middle for the Dodgers. That would really probably perk Laura up a lot for that. But I don't know. I already kind of have the Dodgers, I think, getting Giolito. You know what? Actually, too, the Southpaws in Arizona. The Arizona Diamondbacks, I think, feel like they might need some guys in their Southpaw. Give me Arizona. I think specifically, I think that could be an overall decent fit there. I know it's probably going to be in division, so I doubt it happen. But I'm just don't think going overall. I mean, the Yankees maybe, because I know that Nestor's been down right now, but I think he's coming back. But yeah, I mean, Texas, I mean, they do have Andrew Heaney. They have Perez, so probably not them. So yeah, I mean, Blake Snell, I think he's going to go, and I think that two teams to watch for him. Two really teams I think that it's very unlikely, but I guess teams you can kind of see on his mix is Atlanta and Arizona. I'll give it to you, Isaiah. Blake Snell.
Baltimore Orioles. I think that
Interesting.
If you look at the rotation, they don't really have a guy that's really experience, and you need experience come postseason time. And the only guy that they have that really has experience in the playoffs is Kyle Gibson. And Kyle Gibson's good. I know there was one guy on our network who said that he deserves to be our or the midway point Cy Young Award winner. which, thank you, Taylor, for that last year. But, you know, Kyle Gibson's a good pitcher. I'm not going to give him any flack, but he's not that ace that you need in the postseason, and you need an experienced ace. And Blake Snell's been to the playoffs. He's been to the World Series. He's pitched tight games in the World Series. It makes a lot of sense for the Orioles. So give me Blake Snell to Baltimore.
And James, how about you? Blake Snell's stay or go?
I think he's going to stay. Like I mentioned with the Padres, I don't think they're going to make any moves. I think they're just going to fight through what they have. And since Snell's going to be a free agent after this year, I feel like they're not going to get much for him, even if they did trade for him. I know he's been really good as of late, but he's someone you really can't depend on anymore in a high leverage situation for a game. So I think he's going to stay with the Padres.
All right, now it's up to you guys. The whole entire list that I give you guys is pretty much I'm going to give it over to you guys now. And essentially, all you guys just have to just do is find one guy from the list that I did not mention, and obviously give it over to me in terms of a stay or go. And then we're going to shift over to some football and have some fun with that. So, Isaiah, do you happen to have a specific name that we have not mentioned from the list, and essentially a stay or go type of thing for that overall player?
I do, and for this guy, it's going to be very fascinating to see what his team does in the next couple of weeks, because I think that could determine what not only the team does, but I think what he does when it comes to his no trade clause, and that is Max Scherzer. We talked about it with the Mets. The Mets right now are, I believe, sitting there 44-50. They haven't done anything this entire season to spark any optimism. They almost lost to the White Sox today. And Scherzer has pitched a lot better as of late. He's dominated. And the Mets, when you look at it, they have the White Sox, they got the Red Sox, and then they got the Yankees for a 2-game set. And then they got the Nationals in Kansas City before the All-Star break. Before the trade deadline. So, Ben, do you think Scherzer, because he's an interesting case, does he stay or does he go?
I think he stays. I just don't know about. I think there's gonna be some callers for him, but I just don't think that there's really much. There's gonna be teams out for his market, but I think he's gonna stay. Between him and Verlander, I think really 2 heavyweight contracts that I don't know how many people want to just take for a rental. Maybe if he does walk, probably look at teams like the Arizona Diamondbacks, probably the Astros, maybe a reunion with the Dodgers, but I think he stays in the Mets. And James, I guess you. What do you think about Scherzer?
Okay.
Sorry.
No. Scherzer, man, it just seems like whoever wants him, they're like, hey, I don't want to have a lot of the money with him, so that's going to be a hard thing to trade. So I'm going to say stay. I just don't see anybody, and he's not having such a good year. It'd be different if he was having like Scherzer years of before, but it hasn't been that type of year so far. So I would say he stays.
All right, James. Well, Isaiah gave his player over to me. It looked like he had to go. Maybe that's technical difficulties. We'll see. But I'll give it to you now. What's your player? And essentially, you can give it over to me now in terms of a name to watch out for that we have not mentioned on the list.
Okay. This team is going to be really busy the next 2 weeks. The Chicago White Sox. And one piece that really no one is talking about because he's just coming off the injury list soon, probably this weekend. Joe Kelly, the reliever, he's making $9 million this year. He's 35 years of age. He knows eventually that he will get traded, like a lot of other of his teammates. He mentioned yesterday to a reporter. So Joe Kelly, that reliever, where do you think he's going to go?
I think the Houston Astros. I think could be a really good fit. The Houston Astros have really had some problems with their bullpen. I know that they have a lot of righties in their pen, but I think specifically that is a place where they can really help boost and that overall spot there. And I think that he will go to the Astros. That is essentially between him and Kendall Graveman. They also have another guy too that pitched tonight that it's been really mad under the radar for them. So I think he goes to the Astros. Isaiah, the player that James mentioned for his sake to me was Joe Kelly, a guy that's going to be on the reliever for the White Sox. So where do you think that he can go to if he walks?
Oh man, I think that watch out for the Dodgers. Watch out for a reunion with LA. They do need some type of they do need some kind of depth in the bullpen. He's kind of interesting because he's been up and down a lot. That I could see, him just staying or him going, but for a lesser price. So watch out for the Dodgers. Watch out for the Mets if they do keep Scherzer and try to go for a wild card spot. Atlanta's an interesting one. Boston obviously is an interesting one. He's pitched there as well. And yeah, I think that's about it for me. But I think if I have to pick right now, I think he goes back. I think he goes back to Boston.
All right. Well, that was great. That was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun kind of doing this overall thing for MLB. Kind of obviously talked a lot about that stuff. Next week, we'll talk more about the stuff for the deadline, kind of the latest rumors about that. I know we obviously got a ton of that stuff in there. So obviously we won't talk much about football, but because obviously we're running later in terms of time for my area. But what we will talk about, of course, is the latest of the DeAndre Hopkins signing that happened this past weekend. Of course, leading up to next week, which is the training camp for pretty much all teams. Actually, rookies, for some rookies, they've actually already reported to some of their teams for camp already. So I guess you can say already that football is officially back. I guess you can say that in a way. Not really, but it just feels good. It's obviously – I don't want summer to end, it feels like it has been. I mean, I feel like for me specifically, the summer's been kind of up and down in a way in terms of the weather. It just kind of feels like it's summer and summer. It's obviously I'm trying to enjoy it. It's been great, but I feel like it's obviously gone fast too. It's just one of those times, I guess, years or whatever. But I guess when you have that, it leads up to kind of the colder weather, and then you have football. So, I mean, you can't really complain that way. But, yeah, DeAndre Hopkins, guy essentially that, got cut from the Cardinals, and then he visited with the Patriots and the Tennessee Titans. Of course, the Bills were kind of within some interest with him. Kansas City maybe had a little bit of interest with him. But it was reported from this past weekend, and it wasn't overall news that I wanted to hear about. Of course, with Hopkins visiting the Patriots. But in all, DeAndre Hopkins has signed. And he has signed with essentially the highest bidder that gave him essentially the money that was on the visits with him. DeAndre Hopkins has visited the Tennessee Titans on a 2-year, $26 million deal. Of course, I'll kind of go in terms of the Patriots in terms of why I feel like they missed on him and they struck out. But in terms of the fit, I just don't know. I mean, you have Ryan Tannehill. He said that essentially 3 things for me specifically. That he wanted to win. He, wanted to play with, I think, a decent quarterback and something else. And I think you look at the overall checklist, and I think him himself personally, I personally think he left because of money. And money is king at the end of the day. Cash is king, whatever you want to say it. Because I look at this overall team and – Mike Vrabel, of course, is a good coach. I feel like the Titans also get some receivers where at the end of their careers where they go to die. Randy Moss, he went to Tennessee. That, of course, that kind of went out of the window there. Julio Jones, same situation there, even though he's kind of playing. But, yeah, disappointed that the Patriots didn't strike or hop on this. But I'm more shocked that he didn't even go to a contending type team. I mean, you look at it right now, the Titans – I know Steven off the air told me after the sign that they could win 10 wins, 9 wins. I would love to have him come on at some point and kind of give me my case about that. But I'll give you over to Isaiah because I know Isaiah had a lot to say about that off the air about this. What's your overall thoughts on this breaking news? I guess you can say now since we haven't talked about it yet. That DeAndre Hopkins has officially signed with a new team and he's going to sign with the Tennessee Titans.
2 words. Pure stupidity. That's what this move entails. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins is the Bradley Beal of the NFL. I mean, this guy complains, "Oh, I'm not winning. This team is not putting a competitive team around me. I want to win. I want to play for a great coach. I want to play for a stable organization. I want to play with a great quarterback." And you pick Tennessee, really? You pick Tennessee. Let's look at Tennessee. Mike Vrabel's a great coach. Don't get me wrong. Organization stability. Their GM literally got fired because he traded A.J. Brown, one of the best receivers in the NFL, for basically a box of cookies. I mean, how? They have a new GM right now. I think they changed over a lot of executives as well. Organizational wise, they're not a stable organization. And then you look at the quarterback, because that's what DeAndre Hopkins said. I want to play for a contending team. I want to play for a good coach. I want to play for a stable organization. I want to play for a good quarterback. So you choose Ryan Tannehill when you could have played with Josh Allen, when you could have played with Patrick Mahomes, when you could have played with Joe Burrow, when you could have played with, you could have played with Mac Jones. You could have played with Brock Purdy, to say the least. You choose Ryan freaking Tannehill. Are you out of your mind, DeAndre Hopkins? I honestly think with DeAndre Hopkins signed that deal with the Titans, I think he probably either had too much to drink or he smoked a blunt beforehand, because it just makes no sense. Like, you choose the Tennessee freaking Titans. What on God's green earth does the Tennessee Titans scream stable organization? What on earth does Ryan Tannehill scream great quarterback? And last but not least, what on earth does the Tennessee Titans scream a team that is going to contend for a Super Bowl? They lost, get this, fellas, they lost 6 in a row to end the season. I know Tannehill was hurt, whatever, but they lost 6 in a row to end the season. They play in one of the weakest divisions in the NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars are on the rise right now. They won the division last year, and they got better. The Houston Texans, oh, by the way, they just got C.J. Stroud. They got Will Anderson. They're on the rise. The Colts got Shane Steichen, one of the best play callers in the NFL, to be their head coach, and they got Anthony Richardson. I mean, the Tennessee Titans are literally a team that is holding on for dear life, and they're on the downswing. And you're going to go to that team. It makes no sense. That's what this move entails. It just makes absolutely no sense. Like, Ben, when you texted me that he was going to Tennessee, I literally laughed out of my mind, because I was like, you said all that stuff and you picked Tennessee. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it just makes no sense whatsoever for DeAndre Hopkins. A money grab for DeAndre Hopkins, because if he really wanted to win, if he really wanted to do all the things that he said he wanted to do, he would have picked Kansas City. He would have picked Buffalo. He would have picked Philly. He would have picked San Francisco. He would have picked Cincinnati. He would have picked any of those teams, but he decides to go to Tennessee. DeAndre Hopkins cannot complain ever again that, oh, the team doesn't put a competitive team around me. My quarterback sucks. I don't want to hear any of that stuff from DeAndre Hopkins, because you are a free agent. You could have chosen where you wanted to go, and you picked Tennessee. You picked Tennessee. It wasn't like you got traded to Tennessee. You personally picked Tennessee. So he's the Bradley Beal of the NFL, and I don't want to hear him complaining this entire season when the Titans are sitting there at like 3-7 or 4-6, that, oh, we're not competitive. I don't know what Mike Vrabel or their new GM is doing. Like, I don't want to hear any of that, because you personally picked Tennessee to go to instead of choosing. I mean, you could have chosen the Patriots. Yeah, you probably wouldn't have won a Super Bowl, but at least you would have been more competitive with the Patriots than you would have had with Tennessee. Like, you picked Tennessee. Like, it just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And DeAndre Hopkins, if he doesn't win a ring in his career, it's because of this stupidity move that he pulled on Sunday.
James, what about you? I know that we talked about him before in terms of where you want to sign. Of course, to Kansas City and a bunch of the other teams. Did you happen to have the Tennessee Titans, of course, the team that he had in mind, to be the financial, but I guess the final fit on the team he decided to choose with?
Yeah, definitely a money grab there. All the incentives can go to him in Tennessee and those bonuses, but there won't be any postseason bonuses, that's for sure. I'm trying to figure out, maybe he felt like there was too much competition for him within the Patriots if he joined them there with Juju Smith-Schuster, Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne, Tyquan Thornton as receivers. And then you have Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki as tight ends. So running back as well, Stevenson are all there. And maybe he felt like even though he'd be the number one, he wouldn't get as many touches or he wouldn't get as many catches. That's all I can think of as well, as much as a money grab this was. It's an easy decision money-wise, but then he's going to, just like Isaiah pretty much wanted to say or said what I wanted to say in a way where, hey, you're going to be one of the worst you're going to have one of the worst records. You may even be worse than the Texans this year. There's a strong possibility Derrick Henry might get traded, before the trade deadline. So I understand why Hopkins did this because he's 31 years of age, but it just seems like coming off a season where you only play 9 games, you want to be on a contender. But then again, you can say, hey, money talks, so talk more bucks, and that's what he did. I know he didn't want to get the what was it? He didn't want to get the Odell Beckham 1-year deal. He wanted 2 years. And New England was, they were willing to match the max total for $15 million just this season. And for some reason, he still didn't want to do that.
I think we were kind of offering more incentive space.
That too, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know Kansas City worked on a deal in April, and they were talking about a $4 million base and then an upside of $10 million. So it took he could have took a little less, but possibly won a ring and then get more next year, a bigger deal next year. That's what I envisioned him to do. But he's going to enjoy losing in a dump that is Nissan Stadium. There's 3 quarterbacks, like I mentioned last week. None of them are any good. He's going to have a horrible time just sitting on the bench yelling at people. You're going to see that right away. We saw how fiery he was with a somewhat decent quarterback, Kyler Murray. And before that, whomever the Texans threw out there. Now he's going to really feel the wrath of not having a strong arm quarterback and a really decent one. Ryan Tannehill is done. I think Willis has overperformed Will Levis in training camp from the last time I read about their training camp. It's going to be a mess. That's all I know. And Hopkins, the money will be good, but the feelings won't be good. That's for sure.
All right. So yes, Isaiah. Seemed like you had a comment for me over in the comment section. So yes. If you want to kind of add something before we wrap up with our final thoughts for tonight, what did you want to say?
Yeah, what I wanted to say was, what else doesn't make sense in this move is that I understand. Okay, I look at the grand scheme of the whole move, right? What also doesn't make sense is the Titans aren't a team that is known for throwing the football. Mm-hmm. They are a run-heavy team. Exactly. So not only did you not go to a contender, not only did you play did you decide to play with one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, but you're going to play with a guy that's not going to throw you the ball deep, and so you're going to be getting like 4 to 5 yard passes. So, yeah, James is absolutely right. He's going to be going off on Ryan Tannehill for throwing him like 4 to 5 yard passes, and he's going to be like, what are you doing, man? How weak of an arm do you have? And then we're all just going to be like, dude, have you not watched film on Ryan Tannehill? That's literally all he does. You're not even gonna get the touches because they're just gonna run the football with Derrick Henry and run the football with Derrick Henry. This move makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And if DeAndre Hopkins wanted to stay in the AFC South, or if he wanted to go to the AFC South, why not pick the Jaguars? I mean,
exactly.
You could have picked Trevor Lawrence. You could have picked Doug Peterson. You could have picked that team that's on the rise and got better. And I also forgot to mention the Jets. I mean, you're going to really turn down. He basically picked Ryan Tannehill over Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence. Like, it just makes no sense whatsoever. And I'm surprised that the NFL hasn't handed DeAndre Hopkins a drug test after this deal was finalized. Like, it just makes no sense. This move makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. I'm surprised he hasn't been tested for steroids before this.
Oh, man. This has to be the great way that we can finish off tonight's show. I know that obviously I want to get some more NFL stuff, but we really dug deep on the MLB stuff tonight, and I was really excited to do that. For next show, we'll get into more NFL based. Of course, we'll do more MLB, but we'll kind of shift ourselves more to NFL and NBA stuff next episode. We'll start really quickly with the MLB stuff, and then we'll really shift over. Next show, we'll talk more about NFL stuff. We also will get into our projected 2 groups because we didn't get to do our group tonight. We'll do running backs and we'll do wide receivers. So make sure to come prepared for your top 5 in each of those position groups for that show next week. And then we'll talk other stuff NBA-wise after that. So final thoughts, guys. What's your final thoughts?
Go ahead, Isaiah.
My final thoughts is it was a great show. Ben, I'm actually surprised that you didn't go off more on DeAndre Hopkins, given that he just completely spurned your Patriots and picked one of the worst teams in the NFL. Yeah, I feel
I'll
for you.
I'll say that for maybe next show.
Well, yeah. I can't wait for our next edition. We might have to turn Batter Up into Sports Weekly on Thursday because just to get you and Laurel's thoughts on this. But it was a great show. Thanks to all the fans out there. Thanks to Laurel for tuning in and commenting. Dave Esparza, as well as Isabel, thank you so much for tuning in. Looking forward to the next shows that we have coming up. We are going to be doing either Batter Up or Sports Weekly on Thursday night. And then we're going to have a special MLB Trade Deadline show on August 1st at the end of the deadline just to recap all the deals that have gone down. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that Extra Point is coming back according to Laurel in the last week of July. And then we're going to have a college football. Yeah, we're going to have a college football preview show. I believe the last week of August or in the first week of September, depending on availability. But yeah, we got a lot of great shows coming up. So make sure you guys tune in. And I'm looking forward to tomorrow's A's Red Sox game or later on today because, it's good. Every year I try to go to at least a game the A's play against one team in every division in the AL and also in the American League West. And this is going to be my first time going to a game for a team in the American League East. So I hope it's a competitive game. And I know the Red Sox always draw wherever they go. So it's going to be a great game for sure, and I can't wait.
All right, well, Isaiah, hopefully up front, and hopefully you get to ruin your time tomorrow night. Let's have tomorrow for that game. But all in all, jokes aside, hopefully you have a great game tomorrow. I can't talk right now. It's getting too late right now for me. James, how about you? Any final thoughts before we conclude?
Speaking of the AL East, the Blue Jays lost 9-1, but that wasn't the big story. Their fans on Dollar Hot Dog Night put away 224 hot dogs. The record was smashed. It was 60,000. So at least everybody got fed and overfed, just like their pitching tonight. Just done. Again, 9-1. The Blue Jays lose, but the fans win or lose later on, depending on their stomachs. Again, 71,224 hot dogs consumed. The record smashed. So that was the fun part about being at the Rogers Center last night.
Well, James, you're making me hungry now. It's like having the hot dogs conversation at the end of it. Man.
Denny's.
All right, well, I think that'll be it for tonight's program, guys. Like Isaiah mentioned in terms of the comments, thank you guys for the comments on the program for tonight. Our next show for Kicking with Kruse will probably be by the end of this coming week. I'll kind of in terms of TBD in terms of when that'll be, but I can't wait for that. Can't wait for Batter Up Sports Weekly by the end of this week, so make sure to tune into that fun stuff as well. But without further ado, guys, signing off for tonight, we got James and Isaiah. Thanks you guys once again for coming on. Yeah, so hopefully you guys have a great rest of your night. We will see you guys for down the line, I guess, the next couple days throughout the rest of the weekend. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. Enjoy the game tomorrow, Isaiah for the A's Red Sox. James, their Angels. Win tomorrow for the Yankees for one more time. We appreciate it. We'll see how that goes. But for now, signing off, this has been Kruse along with Isaiah, Leon, James, and Salas. Have a great night, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Peace out, James.
Later.